All right. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of mine heart be acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our redeemer. And it's in his name, which is his authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, reject, and protect today's message. Aman. Hola, mi nombre es Kofi. ¿Cómo está? Bonjour, je m'appelle Kofi. Ça va? Ni hao. Namaste. Osaya anakitegoya. Asi. Mabarigani. Akwaba. Etesen. Kamsa. Kamsamida. Manut. Jambo mibini Kofi ni nefaraku kutana nuwewe. Bakurtav, Shalom, Yashdel, Barakalat Sham Yahava, Kwam Yashdel, Teda, Achiyat, at Zion, at Yashrael, and I Kofi, Kohelet to Servants of Christ, Mashalom Hey. Hello, everybody. I'm Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servants of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time, but being a voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. And I apologize. I'm a little tired. I did not sleep just about. I got maybe hour and a half, 2 hours of sleep, but I am here, and we will get started. Praise y'all. Hopefully, you guys are doing well. My apologies to ministerial staff for this rising. I will be sending something out to you guys, so at least that we can have something that we're coming and touching to agreement on. So at some point, you should get a link or something like that later today. But thank you guys. Appreciate you. And to everybody, we actually had a rough day yesterday. We were supposed to do a meetup, and then it was going to be my family meeting up with everybody. Then it was going to be me meeting up with everybody. My family ended up getting sick, and then I said, okay, I'm gonna go and try and see about them, try and take care of them. Then I said, you know what, let me go ahead. Family was like, well, go ahead and go. I haven't done that since 2019. I should do a meetup without my family. I was like, okay, I guess I'll go without them. And then I got word as I was getting ready to go that they were going through some severe health stuff yesterday. And so I was led to turn back. So I got the word out pretty much to everybody so that nobody really made their way on that 2 hour, 3 hour journey, which some people were taking to make it to where we're going to meet up. We are going to do our due diligence. It looks like it's not going to be something that's going to hang around and cause us to be sick for weeks and stuff like that. So looks like it's something that might be only 48 hours or so, but still, we didn't meet up yesterday. I will be doing everything. Well, we will meet up next week. There's one person that for some reason didn't get the message yesterday and they came to the event. So I'm already set it up where I'm going to be meeting up with that person in person. And if they choose to come all the way out again, so be it. I'll be giving them some gas money and stuff for the mix up. But yeah, so the meetup, if you couldn't make it yesterday for some reason, we'll be doing the meetup this Saturday. And then after that, sometime we'll be coming back up to the Carolinas. So we'll try to set up the Carolinas after that. But I did need to come home and take care of my family. And I was in daddy and hubby mood to make sure that what we were going to do had to be taken care of. So that being said, I apologize to many people yesterday. Yesterday is just one of those things where personal life happens, and it is what it is. But thank you guys for even wanting to be in attendance. I hope that our changing the date on you doesn't mean that you can't meet up with us on Saturday, because we are going to be diligent. We are going to meet up. It just couldn't happen, and it kind of made its way into early this rising. That's one of the reasons why I'm late this rising is I just didn't sleep. I forgot to put my alarm on. I finally, like about 5 a.m., was like, all right, I'm going to get some sleep. The next thing I know, I wake up and it was like 7:26, 7:36, something like that. So praise you, I was able to make it. We're thankful for you guys being on today. But it is what it is. Sometimes stuff happens. Um, and we probably still would have had it, but we didn't really have anybody on staff that was going to be able to make it. So we just postponed it. So it's not canceled, it's postponed. I apologize. Praise y'all, we didn't do anything that everybody had to sew into financially because we would be owing you some refunds and then some, but it's not canceled, it's just postponed. All right. So maybe we have more people that are coming. If more people show up next time, maybe we can even do a potluck, like we said, is a possibility. Anyways, thank y'all for being on. We give all honor and praise to the Most High, Yahweh Elohim. We give all praise and honor to Him for my wife, the Honorable Maya, who lives a life that's able to be honored. You can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A&D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. for those that need a little extra oomph. And we thank you guys who support her business and the business of the diaspora. It is now July 2nd today. Don't forget this Friday coming up is the first Friday of July. So every first Friday of each month, we try to invite you guys and encourage you to go out into your community and be a blessing to somebody in some way, shape, or form. So if you'd like to be able to join in that evangelist type movement, please feel free to join us in that. All righty. And ministerial staff, we will be having another meeting. This will just be for the ministerial staff, but the ministerial staff will have our meeting first Thursday of the month. All righty. Let's go ahead and say hello, everybody. Let's get into today. How you doing, Minister Nice? How you doing? Stephen, how you doing? Ralphio, Sister Dawn, Brother Ali, Charles, Sister Tracy, everybody, Brother Vincent. Let's see who's on here. Everybody joining us on Facebook, on YouTube. Those that are joining us later from Facebook and other places. On TikTok as well. I'm sorry. My great man, Renee, David the Quiet Storm, Sister Deborah, Eugene, Sister Monica, David Dishman. We got different Davids today. All right. How you doing, Big Brother Thomas, Sister Stacy, Roman, Sister Sylvia, Freddie, Dawson, Money Green, Sage, Shirls, Sister Latoya, Miss Vaughn. Thanks for being part of the community. But I think I said hello to Brother Vincent. If not, please forgive me. I'm doing well, Maurice. How you doing, Sister Keita, DB, Wild Rose? Thanks for being part of the community. Everybody, Grand Rising, Greek Rising. All right. Shalom to you. Belated Shabbat Shalom if I didn't get a chance to talk to you or see you in some way, shape, or form yesterday. All right. Today, I want to talk about, we're going to use a theme, and I won't be on as long. Usually Sundays is our longest. I'm not even sure we'll be on as long. Number one, was so tired and stuff like that. And yesterday and everything, I didn't even really charge our Wi-Fi. So YouTube might not even be able to make it, past a couple hours, if that. So if you get cut off on YouTube, I would try my best to have like a part 2 and use the hotspot from my other device. But just to give you guys a heads up, we might lose you guys. But I want to use as a theme for today, I am not registered. Right? I am not registered. How you doing, Naomi? Shabbat Shalom to you. How you doing, White State? I am not registered. Right? What does that mean? In order to get benefits or privileges, or not deal with stuff that comes with benefits or privileges, but might come with other things, you do not register. How you doing, Minister Timon? So I am not registered. How you doing, Minister Tamara? I am not registered. Right? So the reason why you are considered to be part of the United States Corporation is because you are registered. How you doing, servant of Yah? Right? Thank you, Sister Sage. Right? How you doing, Minister Joseph? So the reason why you were considered to be a United States citizen and you were part of the United States Corporation is because you are registered. Now, somebody would say, no, that doesn't make sense. Yeah, it does. Your birth certificate, your social security card, all those things are registered, right? If you carry a gun, right, you register, at least hopefully, right? Unless you have state laws that deem otherwise, right? But many of the things we do are because we are registered, right? So there are certain things that I am not registered to, and not just only on paper, but also in lifestyle and mindset and thought process. How you doing, CJ Smooth? Thanks for being part of the community, right? There are certain things that I've decided to not be registered to. And for example, let's use this as an example. Let's just lay some foundation real quick. If a baby is born, right? Let's say a baby is born in Mexico, and I'm sorry, excuse me. Let's say somebody, you would say illegally. It might not necessarily be unlawfully. How you doing, Sister Sherry? But let's say illegally, somebody comes from Mexico over to the United States of America, right? Or the United States Corporation, right? That person never registers. They might work, they might find a place of residence and all this, but they never register, right, with the states or with the corporation. How you doing, David the Quiet Storm? Right? So if they never register, how you doing, Minister Morel? If they never register, then what happens? Right? Nobody knows who they are, and they don't get certain benefits. They shouldn't get certain benefits, and people some people care, some people don't care, right? It depends on what, and I'm not Republican or Democrat. I don't get into that stuff, right? And they are still lawful because they're a human being, if you know what I'm talking about, right? But nevertheless, they might be illegal. Not everything that's lawful is legal, and everything that's legal is lawful. But let's just say illegally, somebody comes from Mexico to the United States corporation, and they start to live inside of it, and then they have a child, right? Now, according to law, if they wanted, they could register that child with the state, but they don't have to. If that child is unregistered, right, and that parent is unregistered, but they both exist in the United States of America, they might not be real on paper, right, but they still exist in reality. I'm trying to go somewhere with it. I know I might be a little confusing, but just roll with me for a second. How you doing, Sister Tamaya? Right? If a child comes from Mexico, right? I'm just trying to get us to have some basic agreement from the beginning. If a child comes from Mexico, right, or the parent comes from Mexico, the parent has a child in the United States corporation, right? You would say that they're an illegal alien. They are a foreigner, right? So they shouldn't get certain. You shouldn't look for certain things because you are not only a foreigner, but you're an illegal foreigner, so to speak, right? So they shouldn't expect certain benefits or privileges, right? But it does not mean that they do not exist. Thank you, Jenny, and how you doing, right? Right? So they are from another place. Just roll with me, right? They are from another place. They have it. They don't. They should not expect certain benefits or privileges, but they still exist. What is the name of my alacham? That's how we would say you're using the u. So I guess we're dealing in different dialect. But what is the name of alacham? It would be Yahava. Or some try to say Yahuwah, some try to say Yahweh, some try to say Yah. Well, yeah, the main ones that I've said, right? But we would say alacham, Yahava alacham, right? And I'm not going to argue the dialect today, at least not right now, right? I'm going to try and lay this groundwork. So, and all these things that are going on, um, we need to recognize and realize and think about the fact that we are not registered, or we should not be registered. How you doing, Susan? Right? There are some things that I'm not trying to be registered to. Thank you for the blessing. Appreciate that. Right? Barakallah, Shab Yahweh. May the blessings of Yahweh be upon thee. Right? So there's some things that I should try my best not to be worried about being registered to. Right? And what we'll find is that we should be looking for people who are registered to what we are registered to, rather than assuming that if we're not registered, we're not righteous. Does that make sense? Right? I'm using a lot of lawful terminology. I'm trying to stay away from too much legalese, but I'm trying to just introduce something. Thank you for the love, appreciate it. How you doing, Doc? Right? Like I might be in the United States Corporation, but I'm not of the United States Corporation. How you doing, King? That's how we would like to say it if somebody was saying from a pulpit or during your service or whatever, right? So it sounds like classification by the people who have wealth and resources. Well, if the people who have wealth and resources, they are the people who come up with the classification, especially those that are over the corporations, right? For those, the definition of capitalism is what? A system in which politics and economics are used to control trade and industry. That trade and industry is wielded by the owners of private corporations for profit and not by the state. So the state is in charge of the government by definition of capitalism. Once again, what is the actual definition of capitalism? You can Google this for yourself. The definition of capitalism is that capitalism is defined as a system in which politics and economics, right, your whole political viewpoint and what somebody doing with your economic system is controlled by trade and industry, right? Even the United States Corporation is publicly traded, 28 USC 300215C, right? And that is controlled by owners of private corporations for profit and not by the state, right? You said you can register yourself as a church and be tax-free and never have to worry. You can, or you can just be a non-citizen national. But even if you register as a church, there's certain things that you need to do. And what I'm trying to get to a point, and I get all that, right? And I'm with you. I hear you on all those things, right? We teach you on those things. So I'm not against anything that you're saying. Before we go in depth, even in that route, I'm trying to get people to get this basic comprehension. You seem to have it, right? And thank you for the love, appreciate it. And so that's awesome that you're already there, right? There are a lot of people who are not there and have the mindset that I am already, before I was registered, before somebody gave me a name, before somebody then took that name and actually turned it into something else that meant that I belonged to another system, right? Before all those things happen, I already exist. How you doing, Sister Barbara? You see, that's what I'm trying to get to is before somebody, right? For example, let's look at something canonical, right? Because even if we're going to talk about sovereignty, which is what you're headed towards, even if we're going to talk about sovereignty, right? Yeah, we're planting seeds, right? Even if we talk about sovereignty, your sovereignty is based off of this. Whether you believe in it or not, that's what your government is based off of. Even if they twist it, they're doing the same thing. Why do you have 2 or 3 witnesses? Where does that come from? You see what I'm saying? Why is it that you have 3 and 1 in power, supposedly, right? The president, Congress, or president, legislative, or executive, legislative, judicial. Let's say it that way, right? Oh, no problem. I hope your apartment's doing better with the leak. All right, praying for you. We'll pray for you. Be praying for you. So see what I'm saying is like, I'm trying to get people to see that before you even became a United States citizen, before you became somebody who worked on your job, before you were even born into the system, you were already considered to exist by law. And what happened with your birth certificate, what happened with this, even before this was rewritten into English, even if you have a 1611 King James version, which I adore, I use quite a bit, right? But it still changed. Before somebody rewrote this into whatever language you're reading it into on this day, this existed. Before somebody called something Christianity and made up Cristianos later, which didn't even, right? Before that word existed, this existed. And every part of it existed. Before somebody took some of the lost books out, right? This walk existed. That's what I'm trying to get you to see is that a lot of us are registered to things that are not even necessarily lawful. You have registered to become legal so that you will be accepted in your walk, but you are not registered to be, but you have not continued to remain registered to what is lawful. Even though you don't believe of any intrinsic good in anything. Well, I don't believe in good because I don't believe in God. Once again, even that, and I'm not against you. I'm actually with you, right? Like God and good is of a different culture. So when somebody says I worship God, you have to think which Germanic deity or spirit are you talking about? That's what God means. God be with you. God be with ye is goodbye. Godspeed, good speed, guten Tag, good day, God day, right? And a lot of, right, even good morning is God morning, the morning of the gods, even having to deal with some of that winter solstice stuff. So even when we're talking about it, we have to now bring in something called cultural relevance and proper interpretation, right? If I'm not having proper interpretation, and many people live off of constructions and not interpretation. Interpretation is always foundational, which is something that we're really big on here at SOC. Is it foundational? Is it founded on something, right? Is it not fallacy? Is it not fallible, right? Is it context without facts? Is it facts without context? If it's facts, but it has no context with it, it can become propaganda, right? So even when you talk about you don't believe in an intrinsic good, well, what is that good based off of? That's based off of somebody's culture, right? So an ultimate, see, I don't even use the word good that often. Like I don't even say like, oh my goodness, OMG. I say, oh my greatness. Why? Because the word good, I know what it means and I don't want that in my life. You said good is a Gothic word, yeah, which is tied into some of the stuff that's Germanic as well, and some of the stuff that's Eurocentric, and some of the stuff that's Romantic, and some of the stuff that's Latin, right? So yeah, so we're dealing with, well, not so much Latin, excuse me, it's more Germanic. I kind of got off a little bit on that, right? But and there's many different branches or families or kingdoms, or now you call them tribes, right? That are out here, right? So when I say, so even like every word that I say, it's attached to a culture, right? If you say Zeus, yep, sure, half man, half Zeus, that's Jesus, or what people call Jesus, Jesus, which is why I don't worship Jesus. I don't worship Jesus. I don't worship Yesu. I don't, right? Like Demasasu, daughter of Zeus, right? Pegasus, horse of Zeus. Zeus is Zeus. So yes, Zeus is half man, half Zeus. Some people say praise Zeus. So see what I'm saying? I don't register to that. And so since I do not register to that, I don't worship that. You know what I'm saying? Right? How you doing, old head energy? How you doing, Alexia? See, yeah. See, so these are things that like we're not even thinking about. Once again, today we're talking about I am not registered. Right? I'm not registered to certain things. Let's make it. I talk about this somewhat often, especially lately. We've been stuck on this, but let's go ahead and use some of this again. Um, I'm gonna use it slightly different than the way I've been using it. Some would say Eminem is the greatest rapper, top five, or whatever. To me, he's not the greatest rapper. To me, he's not top five. Now, somebody hears me say that, maybe thinks I'm doing a reverse racism thing, or I'm saying because he's white, he's not. The reason why I would say Eminem's not one of the greatest rappers to me and to people of my culture, not even hip hop culture, because hip hop culture is something that we are the face of, but it is not ours. Right? I just want to put that out there, right? So even when we talk about hip hop culture, we might be the face of it, but it's not ours. Right? You're not wearing your own clothes in hip hop culture. Gucci is not yours, no matter how much of it you have on. Right? Going to somebody else to have them put on diamonds that your people are slaving away to make. That's not our culture. You know what I'm saying? So, so it's not even about black white, because as much as we want black to say that hip hop is black culture, it's not your culture if you're not in control of it. Jimmy Iovine, is he yours? Is Leo Cohen, is he yours? They're the ones telling these people to jump and telling them how high. I remember we listened to Leo Cohen on a live session a little while ago, and it was famous on social media and TikTok. And he came on the Breakfast Club, and we listened to a little piece of the interview in which he was talking about, oh yeah, I want these people to be safe and this and that. And somebody said, I think it was Charlemagne the God, asked him, well, hey, if you're talking about this stuff for real, then these guys get on lean and this and that. And he goes, well, ultimately, at the end of the day, I got to make money. That's not even what he said. He said it worse than that. I don't remember how he said it. How you doing, Brother Vargas? That's not exactly how he said it, but that's what he said, right? Right. So so it's not, you're not even in control of it. It's never, you've never really been. Maybe you can say you were in control of it as far as you came up with the stuff, but once you had to register with somebody else so that they could be the ones to make sure they put your music out there, right? Then it didn't belong to you. Once you started signing 360 deals, it's not your culture. You bow down to whomever. Whether you bow down, forgive my language, I'm gonna try to fix it where it doesn't sound too bad. But whether you bow down, with your behind towards the ground or your behind tooted up, right? People bow down to be able to get in that business, to get into the music business, to get into acting, to get into stuff like, there's stuff that happens, right? Where you're gonna register in some way, shape, or form. Actors tell you all the time that they take on spirits to make sure that they get these roles. You're gonna bow down. You're gonna register. Contracts, I see, right? Yeah, you're gonna bow down to this parasite, to this parasitical. This is why, even thinking about parasites, this is why Revelation chapter 6 tells you that there has to be wormwood that's thrown in the water. Why? Because wormwood deals with parasites. Wormwood to cleanse those parasites out. See, we get these words, but we're not registered enough to the culture. So getting back to Eminem, though, before I get too far down that road, we got a little bit of time. We won't have our full time that we do on Sundays, but we got a little bit of time left, right? So this is what I'm ultimately trying to get to with this mindset that people are in. Eminem is not top five to me. I don't know if he's top 10 to me. I guess maybe, but he's not top five to me or number one to me, not because he's white, but because I'm not registered to what he's registered to. What do you mean? Yeah, he has a lot of stuff that I can identify with. Sometimes he talks about being a father. Sometimes talk about this or that or whatever, but I don't worship God, so I'm not registered to the belief of a rap God. You see, somebody would say, oh, you don't think? No. Eminem has style. Whether you like it or not, he has style. Eminem respects hip hop and hip hop culture, whether you like him or not. Eminem has a lot of nice flow. Matter of fact, something I study, not just listen to, something I study from time to time to make sure that my mind is right to even go with stuff, is when that famous cipher that he did with Yellow Wolf and Slaughterhouse, that cipher he did for BET not too long ago. You said you have a genius idea. Okay. All right. It's like I actually studied that because the wordplay on that, as crazy as the lyrics were, like every time I go back and listen to it, there's something else that I see that I'm like, wow, okay. I listened to the cipher a lot that he did with Mos Def and forgive me, my man from The Roots, the rapper. Black Thought. Excuse me. Right. So I'm not saying he has no greatness in him. You said you thought you meant the negativity of his songs as positive rappers that aren't advertised. Well, for sure. But that's not the only thing. What I'm saying is I'm not registered to certain things. So I'm not registered to a rap guy, I believe. I'm not registered to you making a song about killing your wife or your baby mama, right? I guess his wife, right? At the time. I'm not registered to I never meant to give you mushrooms, girl. I never meant to. Now I know that's older, right? But I'm not registered. I'm not registered to you to Godzilla type stuff. I'm not registered to you and Machine Gun Kelly's beef. I'm not registered to it, right? But it's not just M, right? You hear what I'm saying? It's not just M. I'm not registered to Snoop. I didn't know until like a couple years ago, 3 years ago, that he had that song. Will be nice with its sensual seduction. Right? Like I'm not registered. That's what we're talking about today. I'm not registered. See, when I'm registered to it, I get certain things. You said Black Thought destroys him. Yeah, I'm not saying he's the best one in there, right? He has some nice stuff in there, but Most Def was being nice with both of them because I think, well, Black Thought and Most Def are like pretty close, but Most Def you could tell because he's the first person, so he's just being nice and kind of leading the stuff in, right? But Most Def wanted to, to me, that's somebody, especially when you talk about how he articulates things going on in the hood and talks about things going on with the diaspora, talks about things about the government, like I registered to that, for sure. Right. Okay. Snoop is a clone. Everybody's a clone. Sure. All right. So we'll talk. Maybe we can talk about that some other time. If that's your belief system that all of them are clones or a lot of them are clones. Hey, I'm trying to tell you guys what you're registered to. Right. You're registered to a lot of stuff. So I don't register to Snoop. Snoop is, and how you doing? You just told me how to pronounce this yesterday. Kesey or Kate? Kesey? I'm messing it up in my. You just told me how to pronounce it yesterday. I forgot already. Forgive me. I'm tired. This rising. I'm hanging in there, but I'm tired. Right. But okay, Gregory. All right. Thank you for letting everybody know. I guess this is going to be a whole thing of clones for you the whole time. All right. So nothing else matters but clones. I got you. But thank you. Right. Casey. Sorry. I was going to, some reason my mind was trying to say like Casey. And I was like, that doesn't even make sense. KC. Okay. Sorry. I got you now. Hopefully. Right. How you doing, Sister Tori? So even with Snoop, right? I don't identify with or Snoop. Well, Lil Yachty, but he's not really in this lifestyle. Lil Boosie, Gucci Mane, whomever, right? All these people, 50. I know some of these are older rappers or whatever. I don't really keep up with excuse me. What's his name? Rich Roddy or Roddy? I don't know. I can't keep up with all these names. I don't listen enough. But I'm saying all these names to say, like, if you somebody who's a dope dealer, the Jay-Z's of the world have made it off this. You a dope dealer, you somebody that was offing our people. Tada, Shima, right? Tada, DB, Tada, I'm old head, right? These people that were often our people, it shouldn't surprise you that once they get to a certain level, they still do things that are gangster, or they offer your people, or that they would still work for the government. Because as much as we keep trying to talk about rats, the government is in control of all these gangs, anyways. I didn't mean Rick Ross, but you can add him on there, even though Rick Ross was somebody who's, well, I don't know. Was he selling while he was the CEO? And either way, he was a CEO, so he was beating our people down or whatever. He says that was only a small part of his life, so be it, right? But this is real. I don't subscribe to them. I'm not. I am not registered. Right? I don't register to that. So I don't look at those things often. Like people will say things on here often that I find out are big news. You guys mentioned it to me. I'm like, I've never even heard of it. You know why? Because I'm not registered to the world. I pay enough attention to what's going on in the world, and I look at certain principles to make sure I'm aware of certain things. But a lot of stuff I'm not registered to. I'm not registered to. I'm not registered to the United States Corporation. I'm not registered to being a Republican. I'm not registered as a Democrat. I'm not registered as an independent because I don't vote. I don't register to that. Voting is not changing anybody's life, no matter who you are. Yeah. See, so I'm not registered to the world. And because I'm not registered to the world means what? It's a system. And who's in control of the system? The beast. And who made the beast? The people. And who made the people, or those people, that nation? That's the nation that belongs to the serpent, the devil. That's Revelation 12 and Revelation 13. And so when you talk about even that number, that sign, that name, that mark that's going to be on your forehead, or you're going to choose not to have it on your forehead, that's registry. How you doing, Sister Austin? Are you catching what I'm saying now? That's registry. See, I'm not registered to the things of this world. Somebody tells me something about, this church says blah blah, or this camp does that. Okay, well, I can talk about it, but I can't talk about it from a place of registry. I'm not registered to it, and because I'm not registered to it, I don't expect them to give me benefits and privileges. So I look for benefits and privileges that come from whom I'm registered with. How you doing, Sharon? Is it Sharon? Sharon? I don't know if I've said it correctly yet. How you doing? Thanks for being on, though, right? See, whoever I'm registered to is who I'm going to get stuff from. You said Whole Foods, grocery stores already have palm readers. Yeah, but there's palm readers. You go different places. If you go to, I don't know if you guys have H Marks where you live. I don't know if that's an East Coast thing or if that's all over the United States or the world or whatever, but H Mart has some wild stuff that comes in there. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of stuff, like a lot of jewelry, a lot of stuff that people buy, and they don't make sure it's prayed over or cleansed or make it seeing who put it together for what, or what prayers have been said over things or whatever. Right? But I'm not registered to those things. See, so I don't look for even things that I wear. I don't get them from where everybody else gets them from. Right? Like this right here, something that somebody who's part of this family, part of SOC, actually got, and so being, as a blessing towards me, right? So this is something that somebody who's prayed up, living a certain way. Even the clothes that I know you don't think that you're supposed to do this, but even with the clothes that I wear, they all speak. This is why when we talked about in our 7 F's, the second F is family, right? The first F is faith, the second F is family, and our family structure. We even said that your marriage is a political statement. So why are all your marriages registered to the state, I wonder? I'm skipping. Okay, I'm sorry. Today, I don't really have much other than what I got today. Am I skipping for everybody? It's starting to lag. Okay, I don't know. I can tell you. I can't really move today or do much with it today. I don't have too much outside of this. This is what I'm using for this as my main source today. Skipping something awful. Okay. I can't even use the other device. Can you guys hear me all right on YouTube? Can you guys hear me all right on YouTube? Yes, no, maybe so. All right, so it's going all right. So we have a TikTok problem. Okay, I'm gonna try and just get out the app and try to restart the live. See what it does for me. If it's TikTok itself, then when I resume, it should be fine. All right, am I still skipping? Okay, we're clear. Thank you, Brother Ali. Am I still skipping? How you doing, Melissa? Am I still skipping? You said just keep talking. I get it. I'm just trying to see. Look, to be honest with y'all today, okay. So it's TikTok doing it then. So if it does it again, y'all let me know. I'll just have to literally go out of the app and come back in and keep resuming the live. It's better. Yeah. Okay. So it's TikTok doing it. Sometimes you can tell if it's signal or whatever, because I use the same signal for the hotspot technically that I use for this. Right. So, but it's just on different devices. So it shouldn't be a problem. But anyway, so yeah. So where were we at though? Where were we at? Who am I? Oh, yeah. So I'm not registered to the things of this world. So I don't expect things that come from the world. Not only what you call benefits and privileges, which is what you get taxed on, benefits and privileges, but also I don't expect certain things as far as certain lasciviousness and lust and anger and anxiety and strife and hating somebody because they're Republican or Democrat, or having to hate somebody because of their Christianity, or they're being a Muslim, or they're being atheist, or they're being like I don't live in those places, right? I don't live in those places, therefore I don't live in those spaces, right? Those aren't places. I don't have any place for those things in my life, so they don't take up mental space. You catch what I'm saying? Like those things don't have place in my life, so they don't take up mental space. You hear what I'm saying? Right? Like, and so a lot of anxiety comes from I'm registered too much to some of this stuff. How many of you are registered with news that's negative and that's designed to make sure that you're split up? While they'll say the same exact script on all these different platforms, they are designed to simultaneously split you up to where you think that the people who are saying the same thing on Fox News are better or worse than the people who are saying the same thing on CNN. I'm not subscribed to it. I have not made sure that I've registered with that. I'm not registered to it, so it doesn't do much for me. Matter of fact, like watch this. I think one of the reasons why I've become great in teaching and things like that, and I've been able to get to successful, what you might call success, and having successors and things like that. Yeah, because it's all scripted, right? I think one of the reasons why that's happened. Not even I think. I know. I'm aware. I'm well aware, and I know. How you doing, Michelle? Because I wasn't registered as a child to church. So even though I grew up in something that wasn't true, I grew up as being Jehovah's Witness, but my mom, I didn't know how awesome this was until I found out later on, how much people really try to control you in Jehovah's Witness. But she saw that I was not feeling it. In my early teenage years, she allowed me to leave, and she trusted what she had put in me to study to make sure that I found truth. And she was the one who taught me how to preach, how to teach. She was the one that made sure I was around great masculine male role models, besides just my father, obviously. But my father worked 2.5 jobs, so she made sure I was around elders and other people. And at 4 years old, I was walking door to door, and I was seeing that it was important to talk about the word of Yah, right? But I was not raised, and even though I didn't know my culture fully, like I knew that there was people in my family who already identified as Yah style. I knew that we were. Jamaican. I knew that we were Shwe. I knew that we were Arawak. I knew that we were Taino. I knew that we were Cherokee. I knew these things, but I didn't really dive into them yet. But I was not raised in a church mindset, which meant that when I got to church, there were certain things that I saw, and I said, "Yeah, I can see Yah in that." But also, there's certain things that I saw, and I said, "Yeah, that's not correct." And it helped me from my first initial church experience around, well, I guess technically in boot camp was my first one, so 17. But when I started getting serious into it, maybe around 19, it helped me to see that, all of us have issues. And just because they go to church, it doesn't mean they don't have issues. You know, you said, how do you unregister to vote? You can just unregister, or really, as far as voting, I wouldn't even be worried about the register to vote part. I guess kind of sort of you have to, because it's attached to your, some of your stuff. But I mean, you could simply just go you could probably go to the DMV like you did to register and just unregister. Usually people register at the DMV, or your vehicle, whatever you call your MVA, DMV, whatever you call it. But you could probably do it there, or you could probably just go online. um, but you could, if you register as independent, you could probably, that probably helps you some, I guess, if you're a Republican, Democrat. But as long as you don't vote, you're not really registered anyways. It doesn't matter how you're registered. And after a while, after enough years, if you haven't been voting, you're registered to vote. Doesn't really matter that much because they don't have you on there. But yeah, you could unregister. You could say that you don't want to be part of anything, at the DMV or whatever, or online. I'm pretty sure. Maybe somebody else can answer that, because I don't 100% know, in all honesty. But I'm pretty sure you can go to those places. How you doing, Sister Mignon? Uh, he said news, entertainment, and people are entertained by other people's pain, loss, or discomfort. Yeah, by the way, that's scripture. Psalm 123, verse 4, right? We talked about that before, that there are people that are at ease with our being scorned, and there are people who take pride in our being belittled. How you doing, Christopher? Shalom. Right? So, you don't have to register at all. Like that's one of the things that they get us in. Once again, like they got us to register in the first place. And so now we're registered and and when you register with something, you're making a political affiliation. That's where I was before when we started skipping. Praise God. Thank you, Holy Spirit. She got us there. All right. So when you're dealing with this stuff, are you talking about um, how you register, right? How one registers when you're dealing with this, um, right? Even your marriage is a political affiliation. You said, so does this corporation really pay attention to newfound sovereignty? The corporation is the one who signs off on it. That's, if you're part of the corporation, you're registered to them. That's who you go to, right? Because they basically you were signed and registered to them. So if you say I don't want to be registered to you, I want to be registered to something that's private, right? Because really that's ultimately what you're doing, right? And then I'll go back to marriage real quick. But ultimately, that when we're talking about the way we teach, now other people are teaching some other stuff, granted, right? And some other gurus that besides ones that I'm under and I learn from are teaching other things, granted. So to each their own, right? And there could be other, depending on what you want personal, because this is a personal walk. Just like I could talk about the scripture, but you still got to use it in your life, right? It's a personal walk. So I can talk about sovereignty and teach it to you, but it's a personal walk. You got to figure out how this thing that's been used for all of us as puzzle pieces works for you as your piece when you coming together as a nation. If you're trying to even nation build, I am. Some people might not, right? So my goal is always nation building. So I'm not teaching people to register just only to say I'm not part of the corporation. I'm teaching people to register so that we might come together as one. So my mindset might be different in sovereignty than yours is, right? Right. So for everybody listening, it might be different on what you're trying to do with your sovereignty. Like there's some people that are sovereign who don't want to do anything for anybody. They just want to do stuff for themselves. And while granted, hey, you're absolutely have every right to be private citizen and do whatever you want, it's still not helping those who are coming out of this. We need to try and come together, right? So those of us who are trying to nation build, when I'm dealing with sovereignty, I'm coming from a different perspective, right? But but yeah, so but yeah, when you are registered, see what happened really. Let's do it like this. Let's do it spiritually, right? And let's make it practical. So it's not so mystical that we can't comprehend. Let's make it practical, right? Let's deal with the spirit. Spiritually, Yahweh said, "I knew you before you were born." How you doing, Jeff? Right? He said, "I knew you before. I pre-knew you." Right? There were precepts in place to protect what I foreknew or I pre-knew, if you will. Right? We had a relationship already in the spirit. You were born into a body, then you were given a soul. The soul connects the spirit that I've always known to the flesh. That's going to be the housing. That's going to be the temple for you and really for me ultimately, because you will perform in this temple, but I am the one that you worship in this temple, right? So he said, so I knew your spirit before you were born and attached through the soul, through the psyche, through the psychology, through the nachadash, right? Before the psychology, that's what the soul is in the Greek, by the way. When you look up the word soul, it is psyche, 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 spelled the same way. So I knew you. I knew your psyche, right? And I gave us something called psychology that's supposed to connect the spirit to the body. I knew you already in the spirit. There's this thing called soul, psyche, that's going to help you to be able to connect spiritually to your body. The reason why your body moves is not because of your brain, it is because of your mind, right? Because it'd be absent from the body if your spirit and your soul, right? Because your body's going to die off. So now when your body now, because of sin, dies off, your soul, which is attached to the spirit, the body fizzles out and can't stay attached. And therefore it's to be present and goes back with Adam, with the Lord. How you doing, Kalia? Right. So I already knew your spirit, right? Y'all, we together on that. I already knew your spirit. I foreknew you before your mother and father got together, and now a soul had to come into being so that you could attach the spirit to this thing that's being designed to be a temple that you can operate inside of, but at the same time, I can be worshipped inside of. And as I'm worshipped, I can operate. And as I operate, you can be blessed. And as you're blessed, you bless me. And as I'm blessed, then I give you the gift. And as you get the gift, then you operate and give it back to me. And as I give it back to you, I make room with your gift. See, I have this eternal principle, right? So I foreknew you. Problem is, though, is what happens. I was born, I got the psychology attached to my flesh, and as soon as people knew that it was attached to my flesh, everybody was already working towards getting you to unregister with the kingdom, the king who you foreknew, and is trying their best to get you to register with the state, the country, the nation, the beast. They're trying to put the mark of the beast on you. All right, Ms. Vaughn, thank you. You have a great week as well, right? So they're trying to put the mark on you. They're trying to put the mark of the beast on you. Right? Already, that's the goal. The goal is to put the mark on you. Right? Like as soon as you're coming up, we got to register them. As soon as you're coming up, we got to register them. Matter of fact, give them a name. We're going to take the name and redo the name, and then we're going to have you sign off on it as the parent. Right? And the parent doesn't have the comprehension because the parent has lived their whole life registered. They think that the way to safeguard the child is to register with them because the state gives benefits and privileges. The reality, though, is that the king already gave benefits and privileges. Right? So what we're trying to do is say, how can we stop registering with the beast, get that mark off your forehead, and then how do we deal with the benefits and privileges? See, because there's not one person on here that if you know, you got to learn this, you got to grow in this, you got to be taught this. You might be a babe, you need to be born again, and you need some sincere milk before you start getting into the meat. But the ultimate goal should be, at some point, you don't go to the grocery store unless you feel like it. Hear what I'm saying, right? Because Yah already gave you meat in your house. And he said, look, why don't you give 10% back to my house? See, we get this thing messed up. Well, unregistered, you can go into a DS11 form, this and that, or whatever. We teach some of this stuff, and a lot of stuff we teach offline because, to be honest, some people are going to mess this up. Some people aren't going to do what they're supposed to do with it. And to be honest, it's not as simple as just saying, hey, so just unregistered, do this, because some people be like I'll talk about how you don't have to drive, you can travel, therefore you shouldn't have a driver's license. And everybody goes straight to the point of saying, oh, okay, I'm gonna get rid of my driver's license, I'm gonna take my tags off my car. That's not how you do it, right? You have to unregister, so to speak. You have to know what you're doing. You have to also have your sovereignty be acknowledged. And in order for it to be acknowledged, it must be lawful, not just legal, it must also be lawful. So you'll probably hear me say some of those things today, but I'm just trying to tell you, as far as, first of all, how registered you are and the point of needing to be unregistered. If you want to have further conversation, by the way, if you'd like to get into contact with us, whether you're watching this on YouTube, you can look at the description for information on how to text us or email us. If you'd like to be able to do so from TikTok, if you're hanging there to the end, when we do something we call our shout out, we'll make sure we have information that you can contact us at as well. Or you can just go to our main TikTok page, click on the link tree, click on kofi-ofori.com, or click on YouTube and go on YouTube videos, lives, whatever, and look in the description too. But you can also go to our website and text or email us, and we'll set something up to talk to you, or you can take classes with it. I mean, whatever you like to do, right? But I'm trying to show you. See, watch this. Yah says we hear the word tithe, and we don't even think 10% of seed that I get should be planted. We don't even think like that, like something that's simple. 10% of seed that I get should be planted back. Or am I saving seed? We don't even think about that, right? Like this, everything that I do, this is a principle. See, but because we're registered with the state, in our mind, we go to the store. But yeah, my wife has taught this before, that unless obviously you're in certain cities, right? But even in some of these cities, you'll see this happen. You'll see what I'm saying to be true. But my wife has taught this before in her classes that she teaches, that 70% of what you see is going to be nature. And out of that 70%, a huge percentage of it is medicine, is food. So there's not one person, if you know what you're doing, that ever needs to go to a store. I'm not saying I never go to the store, but I shouldn't have to go to a store or a restaurant unless I want to, unless I'm led to. We don't even think about being led. We just go, oh, I'm going to the store, groceries are low. Have you been led to go to your grocery store this month? That's not even something that comes in our mind. Right? That is not even the thought process. Am I led to actually go to the store? That's not even something that we think about. Does the Holy Spirit say go to the store? Did the Holy Spirit say wear this dress? Did the Holy Spirit say wear these clothing, this vestido? this camisa, this chemise, this dashiki, this hairstyle. Like, who's leading you in everything? You said, and now they're selling cancer meat. Yeah, right. And Yah never told us to go to their store. Check it out in your Bible, right? You have not developed your store. You don't think about this. The word store means storage. Storehouse is the word house that was for the word family. So store means a place where we store things for the family. Storage for us should be, hey, where is the place that we come together? Where's the place that we can send at least 10% of everything that we have? Could you imagine how well off our people would be if there was a place that we had, right? If there were places all over you, and we're developing people in groups and people who feel like family and talk to each other, and some of them starting to visit each other on a regular basis. Praise God. But could you imagine if everybody that was in NYC with us, every time you went to the store, the pair of shoes that you like the best out of the 10 that you bought, that's the ones that you give to the kingdom. And the food that you grow in your house, 10% of it goes somewhere. And so when somebody's in trouble, the first thing that we do is not even call Pastor Kofi or call this person to call your ministerial staff. First thing we do is we go to the storehouse and we just go in there and we eat. Thank you for the love, appreciate it, right? Like, or we go in there and we get dressed. This is the principle, but we're not registered to that. We're registered to the state. The state says, go to the corporation because the corporation's in charge of the state. Once again, what is the definition of capitalism? Capitalism is defined as a system. That's where the ISM comes in. It makes that a system, right? So capitalism is defined as a system in which politics and economics are used to control what? Trade and industry. And that trade and industry is wielded by who? The owners of private corporations for profit and not by the state. So if the person who's in charge of the government, the president, checks in with somebody, he is in charge of a board, right? He's the president of a board, but that don't make him the CEO, if you get what I'm saying, if you get the context. How you doing, Sister Nadine? Just because you're over a board doesn't mean that you're in charge of nothing. This is why your 501c3s, right? Your churches, when you go there, your pastor is not always going to teach you the greatest thing. He or she cannot. You know why? Because just because they're over a board, right? And even if your church, a lot of your church, look, I've done the church stuff. I've written the bylaws, right? I know how this works, right? And I've had to teach people how to write bylaws so that the government can't come in and tell them who they can and can't marry and stuff like that. I know how this works. How you doing, Michael? And I'm trying to just give you something. All right, I'm trying to bless you with something. Right, read your Bible to bless you, but let me give you something, right? That they're over a board. So even when you have these churches that say, okay, pastors over every board. So the pastor's at the top of every board. So you might have the vice president. So a lot of them write it like this, to where whoever's in charge, let's say in charge of your singles ministry, that's the vice president, but technically the pastor is the president, right? And whoever's in charge of the missionaries, right? Whoever's in charge of that, that's the vice president, but the pastor is the president, right? They, even if they write it in, the president is still not in control. Just because he's the president doesn't mean he's in control. See, the president sets precedent, but it doesn't mean he is in control. Doesn't mean she is in control. Right? Now, what it should be is the Most High is in control. However, the way that your 501c3s are written, he cannot be in control, because you can only be a 501c3 if you do what the state tells you to do or the corporation tells you to do. But who's in charge of the state? Who's in charge of the corporation? Right? So no matter what you say, right? Like, this is how you have people who would not let 20, 30 years ago, probably about 30 years ago now, right? Just about close to, let's say 25 years ago, over 25, let's just say 25 years ago, Chris Jackson, who becomes Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, and Craig Hodges were kicked out of the NBA, ultimately blackballed, because they were not allowed to say that I don't want to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. All of a sudden, the NBA is getting word from corporate sponsors saying, hey, they didn't like what happened with Kaepernick, and the NFL looked real bad, and the NFL's in a position where they can go ahead and take that hit, but we can't take that hit. So Y'all gonna let them start kneeling. And next thing you know, everybody starts kneeling. And you say, how you doing, guest sissy? And you say in your mind, oh, okay. All right, well, that means that Adam Silver is thinking about the players, and this person's thinking about the players. How you doing, Mustard Seed? And these things are really changing. No, they're not. The people who are in charge of the corporations told the people in the NBA, this private corporation, right? You got to realize this, right? Who are the owners? Let's use the proper terminology. Who are the owners of the teams? They are people who are over corporations. And now, although people don't like this, and so many people say that's not right, and how can you be $1 million slave? It doesn't make sense, and yada yada yada, right? But they cape up for the shield, what they call the shield. Even people who don't play for the NFL anymore, they still try to protect the shield. Why? Why? Because you have it ingrained in you that these owners, who are the ones over private corporations. See, if you are a Dallas Cowboy fan, I know I'm not into fandom. I'm not a fanatic. I know some of you are. Just hopefully you can get past your fandom for a second and hear what I'm trying to tell you, because they got you so messed up that as soon as I said Dallas Cowboys, some of y'all gonna miss the truth. So just hang in there with me, okay? All right. Hang in there with me. Right? These private owners, Jerry Jones bought the Dallas Cowboys because Jerry Jones is a private owner over oil. He's become a private over many other things now, but because he was able to become a private owner over oil, he was able to buy the Dallas Cowboys. That means he's a private owner of the Dallas Cowboys. The NFL is not a public company. It might be, I don't even know if it's publicly traded. It might be publicly traded, but it's definitely not public company. It's privately owned. And what they have is they have set up documentation in which they've set up a trust, if you will, or an LLC, even if you will, to where Jerry Jones could be the very Jerry Jones who was out there helping to make sure that they wouldn't let black children go to school. But will not have to, but will not have to take any hit for it. You go to the NFL before you go to him about it. Why? Because that's the way the corporation is set up. It's that UCC1. If you know about UCC1, right? That's how it's set up. So these are the owners. These owners, see, and once again, this is why your Bible is important that we get this, right? Revelation 12 tells you that there's the serpent. The serpent is the devil, right? Or the dragon, if you will. It's called the dragon there, excuse me. This dragon is the devil. This dragon spits water out. The water actually represents people. The people, the water, or even if you want to say the people who are led by a bad spirit, because water can represent spirits, so if you want to go there, right? But these people who have the spirit of the devil, they try to come towards Yasra'el, Israel, who has already born Christ into the earth out of them. And Christ has now gone up, and now the devil has been kicked down on the earth. He is not in hell, right? He will be, but he's not there yet, according to your Bible, right? So he is roaming around, seeking, right, roaming around to and fro, seeking whom he may devour. He tries to send the people at his people towards Israel. Revelation 12 says that they can't get to him because Yah has the earth, his word, right? His clay comes up and protects us. Not only molds us, but it also protects us. His law, what he spoke out of his mouth. What is a universe? Once again, a universe is a single spoken sentence, unique one verse sentence. So Yah has already declared that Yasra'al is protected by universal law as long as we follow the universal principles. Because law doesn't give rights, law protects rights. So now the devil's people can't get to us. So it says they look for the remnant, those who are not part of this, whether they're going to be Israel by blood, Israel by being grafted in. He looks for those who are the remnant out there, who should come into this, right? And we should be in position, separated into the wilderness. That means we're not in their system. We're not in the corporation. We are not registered mentally, physically, spiritually, physiologically, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, whatever. Right? Then Revelation 13 says, out of the water, out of these people, then comes what? The beast. So he's looking for the remnant. How is he going to get towards the remnant? He's looking for the beast. The beast comes out of it. The beast is a governing body, 7 heads. You're dealing with Kemet, which, by the way, there's obviously other things attached to these, but these main heads are the head. So obviously Cush is attached to Kemet, but who do you talk about more? You talk about Kemet or you talk about Cush? A lot of y'all talk about Kemet, or you call it Egypt. You're still talking about the same thing, right? Kemet is the head, whether you call it Egypt, whether you call it Cush. whether you call it Middle East, whether you call it Africa. See, so just because you're African doesn't mean, or just because you're trying to be Kemetic doesn't mean that you're not dealing with some beast-like mentality. So you have the 7 heads. These are the 7 heads of the beast, right? Kemet, Assyria, um, Babylon, Medo-Persians, Greeks, Romans, Roman Catholic Church. And then you have another beast that comes out of that it says it has the authority of the one head that was offed, but then came back to life somehow, which is the Roman Catholic Church, time times half a time, 1,260 years, 538 Justinian decree to 1798. The Pope is offed. And then all of a sudden comes back somehow. But in the midst of all that, somehow Protestantism now has the same power, although the Roman Catholic Church technically is still in control. Because they're doing the same thing. They're wearing the same priestly robes. They're talking the same stuff. Matter of fact, a lot of your places that you go to, and you go to these, I forgot what the name is again, but the name of the place where everybody loves like the praise and worship, and they be filling up the stadiums and stuff like that. A lot of those places, you think because it says they have a pastor in charge, you don't realize that that pastor is actually just an official representative of the Roman Catholic Church. That's actually how it's written. It was so stuff like Hillsong, I think is one, and stuff like that. You're listening to something that has the mark, right? And so it has a mark of something that's attached to the beast. And we've got to start unregistering. And thank you for the love, appreciate it. Right? We got to start unregistering. America, sure. Think about who America works for now. Does America have to check in with the Roman Catholic Church, or do they have to check in? Watch this. There's 2 popes. Can I say it like this? Let's say it like this. There are 2 popes. Were you aware of that? You think there's only one. There's 2. Did you know that? Were you guys aware that there are 2 popes? How you doing, Molly? Were you guys aware there's 2? There's the Roman Catholic Church Pope. This is in Christianity. I'm not talking about in other things or other things. I'm talking about there, because people don't. Well, let me stay on target. Thank you, Holy Spirit. There's 2 popes. There's a Pope of Roman Catholic Church, and there's a Pope of Protestantism. When King Henry VIII, he leaves the Roman Catholic Church because he wants to have as many wives and do whatever as he wants, right? So then when he left, he became the Pope of Protestantism. There was a Protestant movement. It was a grassroots thing, and somebody grabbed it and made it something else. How you doing, Sister Toya? It's like when you deal with who is it that I'm looking for? Sorry, y'all. Oh, it's like when you deal with the March on Washington. The March on Washington was a grassroots movement that was actually going to be somewhat violent. And basically they put MLK over it, and no shade towards MLK. They actually told him, like, look, this isn't going to turn out how you people think it is. Because people were going to come there, they were going to lay on the airport lines. They were going to riot. They were going to loot. They were going to let people know that they were upset and frustrated by this wicked system. And so JFK was told by the people who are the owners of the corporation, they came to him and they said, look, we're willing to pay whatever you need to put down for these people, but you need to let them know if they come here, we don't want it to look like this, but these things will be shot up. Like, this is stuff, like, look up MLK and Big Six, right? The Big Six, and look at MLK. This is stuff that was specific. Malcolm X actually had an argument about it, and because most people don't like Malcolm X and don't actually see what Minister Malcolm Shabazz actually meant and what he did, and even how his life changed. And he said, hey, you know what, I've realized that white versus black is not the way to go and stuff, but people don't like him. Right. But initially, the March on Washington, and by the way, right, I have people that I know, some have passed, and so I have some family members that will tell you and show you the places that, like, there were marks on buildings to where they were like, yeah, this building is safe. This building is not safe. Right. In other words, these people are with us, so don't loot their building. Like, people were ready to do this. And they ended up changing it to where you remember the March on Washington now as what? As it was something for peace and this and that or whatever. Right. So people grab other people's movements all the time. Right. How long have people been saying, when do people who are considered to be black or Negro or whatever, because remember the definition of a Negro according to law, Western law, a Negro is a copper colored, a Negro can either be an African or it can also be an indigenous person to the Americas. That's by law, right? That's not by me making something up, right? But they got us caught up into where now we got this whole blood quantum thing. So even if I'm Cherokee and you're Cherokee, and really none of us are really 100% Cherokee, but you'll say you're more Cherokee than me. And really, then we talk about the $5 Indian thing too. So now we got who is the actual bloodline and whose bloodline are we making as the standard. If I'm registered to that nonsense, I will go ahead and bow down to it, but I'm not registered to that. See what I'm saying? How you doing, Sister Deja? And people think this is stuff that's made up. This is stuff that's real. This is why we're able to teach this and start showing people around the world. Like, you are dealing with an unreal situation. This is why I don't care. Right, watch this. I don't care if you make more money than somebody else. All right, Walter, have a great day. Right? I don't care if you make more money than somebody else. Why? Because money's not even real. Why? Because gold and silver is supposed to be used to back up money by your constitutional right. And yet you have no gold or silver. Not you personally, your country has no gold or silver. So if it has no gold or silver, then what are we sitting up here talking about more money? And by the way, just because you have a $1, you have the same cloth or paper and yours says 1 on it, or yours says 2 on it, or yours says 5 or 10 or 20 or 50 or 100. It's the same cloth. What makes it more valuable? Thanks for being part of the community, Mike. Right? What makes it more valuable? Nothing outside of what? Your agreement with it. That's part of the definition of currency, is that we agree that this is what the current situation is, or the movement currency of the situation is. That's why you go to a bank, right? River banks, currency, things like that. Like, somebody has set this thing up for you to think that you have a false river or currency of money that's not even flowing. Yeah, an IOU. That's why even on your money, it says, "In God we trust." What is that called? That's called law, or legally. Let's go legally. That's called legally an oath. What is an oath by law or legally? Right? Not what is an oath. What is an oath legally? An oath literally means that it's a promise to a deity or a promise to a God. That's what your money says. Right? So I'm saying all that to say, now going back to what we were talking about, so there's 2 popes. Right? You have the Pope of the Roman Catholic Church, you have the Pope of Protestantism. King Henry VIII didn't want to roll with Roman Catholicism because he wanted to do whatever he wanted to do with his wives. The Pope wouldn't let him. The Pope said that you be doing stuff anyways. You just don't let everybody know about it in public. But we know that you out here with all these women and all these guys and stuff like that. And he said, well, so what? Like, I can't have it look like you usurping my authority. So he said, fine, bump it. I'll just start my own church. So he became the Pope of Protestantism. So that's why, even if you look at King Charles' speech, he talked about his connection to the Bank of England, or even to the Church of England. He talked about both, really. Right? And what is the Bank of England? Where did the Bank of England get its money from? Where did the Bank of England get its money from, I wonder? How did it become so rich? Because of you. And you working for it, right? So I'm just trying to tell you, right? Like, people are out here enslaved, and people are thinking, well, because I get to go out on the yard more than the other person, I must be richer. You see what I'm saying? If you don't get the terminology, that's prison terminology, that's jail terminology, but more so prison, right? Where you might be in prison or whatever, and because somebody's locked up and they can only go on the yard for 30 minutes, but you get to go an hour a day, then you must be more free. But you're still both in prison, right? You're still both registered to the prison. Matter of fact, you don't even know you have to sign your rights away to go to prison. Yeah, enslaved and don't even know it. But hey, I get to go out on the yard more than them. Somebody says I'm 50 yards away from the shore. Somebody says I'm 200 yards from the shore. But both of you, if you were to drown right there, you both end up in the water. Who cares who was closer if you didn't make it to shore? Right? But somebody says I'm able to do this more and I make more of this or whatever. You're still a slave. I got a 1099. On your 1099, do you have to check in? Do you have to make sure that you do things according to them? Do you have to show up when they say show up? If so, then you're 1099 in the 1099. Or at least you don't deal with the authority of an actual 1099. So you can have a 1099 in name, but never be actually doing what you're registered to. Thanks for being part of community, Carrie. You see what I'm saying? I'm trying to get you to comprehend that people are registered to mess. Whether it's mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, etc. You are registered to mess. Why is it that you fight against the rights of the unborn child, or fight for the rights of the mother of the unborn child, or say that the child is not even a child? It's because of what mentality you're registered to. That's all it is. That's what it is. See, watch this. May I tell you something? If I'm not registered to Republican or Democrat, how easy this is for me? At the end of the day, every woman has a right to do whatever she wants to do in her body, but there's consequences that come. So do what you register to, but just realize whatever if you decide to take the life of that child, there's things that happen you're registering for. See, because I'm the person behind the scenes, or I'm not the person, I'm one of the people behind the scenes that when that happens, it's going to end up, doing life coaching and counseling, if you want to call it that, but life coaching, and talking to these sisters and trying to help them. And when they're 50, 60 years old, talking about they really wonder what would have happened had they had that child and things like that, or when they have medical problems that they don't tell you come with it, or the doctors who end up, like a lot of them who end up quitting when they get tired of like having to, forgive me, the trigger warning, right? Trigger warning. You have a chance to get out, trigger warning. When the doctors have to start taking the babies out and taking pieces of the baby and having to repiece the parts together to make sure that everything came out. Because if everything doesn't come out, that means that the mother's going to have health issues. How you doing, Islam Born Grand Rising? You see? So I'm trying to tell you, like, yeah, as the great philosopher Busta Rhymes once said, for every choice, there is an invoice. There's a way to live and there's a way to do evil. And live is just, evil is just the word live backwards. If you want to live backwards, then it's evil, whether you like it or not. Even in these words they spell. That's why they spell words. They cast spells upon you with all these things you hear. All right, well, even if that's how you live, if you live in backwards, according to the word of Yah, then we got to call it out for evil. But once again, now we got to the point to where we say, well, who cares what people think? Who cares about morality? Who cares about morality? Morality is what all your stuff is based on. No, it's not. Your morals are not my morals. Yeah, but the United States Corporation's morals are your morals. Might I fix that for somebody real quick who wants to say this and say that and go into all this stuff? Might I fix it for you real quick? You ready? Watch this. This is how wild it is when you keep talking about lack of morality or morality doesn't matter. If somebody gets a job at Chick-fil-A, what are you expecting to say when you show up? What's the first thing you expect when that person's standing outside or you hear the machine or you go inside? What's the first thing you expect to hear? Welcome? Not even, though. There's a script. I used to do some contracting stuff with them. I know the script. They might say welcome to Chick-fil-A. Sometimes they even supposed to say it's a great day at Chick-fil-A. How you doing, Kool-Aid? Right? They might say it's a great day at Chick-fil-A. How may I serve you today? Right? They don't say, can I take your order? Right? If they say, can I take your order? We teach them not to say that, right? If they say, can I take your order? Right? It's a great day at Chick-fil-A. How may I serve you? That's the company line. You know why? Because the people that own it, and I'm not a Christian, right? But I'm just telling you how this works. The people that own it, it's a Christian family. The person who started it, he's a Christian. So he wants as much God in there as possible. Right? So it's a great day at Chick-fil-A. How may I serve you? Customer service means a lot. That's how that's one of the reasons why if you ask them, man, why does your stuff cost more than everybody else's? They'll give you all this company line and this and that or whatever. They're buying the chicken at the store. You know what I'm saying? They're buying the chicken from the store, right? But at the end of the day, they'll say all this stuff and they say part of the thing that you pay for is what? Is service. Right? And yeah, and when you say oh, and whenever you say thank you, they don't say you're welcome. They say what? My pleasure. My pleasure, right? There's certain things why it's morality. You're signing a morality clause. Before you go out there, you got to learn how to say like simple things. They have a certain standard of morals, right? Whether you like it or not. So you can go to Chick-fil-A all day, all you want, and talk about, well, you know what, that's not my morals, this and that, or whatever. Fine, that's cool. It's not your morals. Guess what? We will not hire you then. Because we're not going to have somebody that represents us that does not follow the morality. You see? You see what I'm saying? Like, this is what we think morality is. And so if you're going to work for us, that's what it is. You can't say that just because you have some other version of morality, your version of morality doesn't matter here. This is our standard. And it was allowed to be, right? We have a sovereign standard, right? And now we have a corporation, and so we even dictate to other people that if you're going to have Chick-fil-A at your stadium or at this or at that, there's certain things we're going to tell you because we're not going to have our stuff attached. Even if you don't like Chick-fil-A, I'm not saying like Chick-fil-A stance. I'm not saying you have to like it or not. But guess what? Chick-fil-A straight up told you, oh no, we're not going to do homosexuality stuff at all. Everybody said you're going to change. They said no, we're not. If you come in here, you're coming here for the chicken. You're not coming here to change our morality. And when you come up in here, there's certain things that, now look, if you bring your significant or your partner or significant other, whatever you want to call them, and y'all sit down and y'all talk, hey, that's what you do. But what you're not going to do is tell us what our standpoint is, because this is ours. It's our morality, right? We're not registered to what you're registered to. Matter of fact, there's certain things that when you decide to eat, like watch this, you come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant, you start cussing and cussing and cussing. There's children around. Somebody's going to walk up to you and say, hey, this is a family establishment. What are they trying to tell you? Over here, we don't do cussing all over the place. You can cuss all you want, but when you come in this place, you cannot. And if you start cussing me out, or if you don't listen, guess what they'll do? They'll call the police on you. And the police will come what? Because the police work for them, not for you. You got this thing twisted. But for some reason, you think that those of us that are registered in the kingdom, and how you know on fire for him, but you think in your mind for some reason that you should come into the kingdom and tell us what we should do. And this is when I have to say, I'm not registered to that. I'm registered to the kingdom. And in the kingdom, we don't play this, that, or whatever. So yes, if you decide that you want to say that a baby's not a baby, cool. We don't do that here in the kingdom. So now if that's the case, this same person been getting called out. Pastor Jamal Bryan, if you hear, look, I don't really hate you or anything. I'm just calling this, you just be putting this stuff out there for me on a silver platter to where I can't leave it, even if I want. The Holy Spirit says you got to serve their platter. So, but you can't be Pastor Jamal Bryan talking about that abortion's all right and be in the kingdom. You said I'm not a part of this kingdom. I was clinically dead and in a coma 14 days. Oh, okay. All right. I'm glad that you're back. Yes, of course. So I guess maybe your brain dead or something like that. Glad that you're with us still. Praise y'all. Right. But yeah, like, see, you got to recognize if I'm gonna be in the kingdom, that we don't operate. I tell my son this: if my son and I go play basketball somewhere, I don't say basketball according to the word, but if we go play basketball, my son and I, we don't do cussing, right? So here he'd be cursing. You're like, man, why they do all this cursing? And I say, son, if we're gonna play with them, this is when we got to realize kingdom stuff. This is just real talk. If we're gonna go over there, this is not our domain. So do you want to play with these people? Because if we play with them, they're gonna cuss. We're not of their system, though, so we're not going to. We're not of their system, so we're going to make sure that we use certain things. If they go too far with stuff because we're not of their system, we will defend people if we need to. But if we're going to play with them, son, guess what? We're not in their system. Or we might be in their system, but we're not of it. But they're not of ours either. This is why you're called an ambassador. An ambassador gets to go places and can be in places and does not have to be held in the same regard, to the same law, to the same standard. That being said, though, and not having to be held to the same standard, guess what? Right? They still might be in somebody else's country. An ambassador doesn't deal with certain benefits and privileges that you get. They're taken care of because they're an ambassador of royalty or of somebody high up in somewhere else. They might be. See, but I'm not registered to that. See, so they can do things that are illegal and go back to their country. And their country decides if they're going to do something to the ambassador or not. Why? Because they're not registered to what you're registered to. This is when people say, well, so you're always telling people that not to pay taxes. But doesn't the word say, render Caesar's things to Caesar's and God's things to God? Yes. If Caesar says that you don't have to pay taxes because you're a non-citizen national, you're not part of this, you're private, then why would you do it? The problem is you don't want to be privately part of the kingdom. You want to be all the way in with the world, but then say at the same time, I'm part of the kingdom. So then guess what you have to do? You have to make decisions that are not kingdom minded. And I use those analogies, and really not even analogies, those are truths, those are true statements. But I use those things a lot because I'm trying to get people to comprehend. If you'll do that for taxes and let somebody take 50% of your money and then hope that maybe they'll let you have 2,000, 3,000, so you can go to Red Lobster a couple times and get the cheddar biscuit. If you let them do that to your finances, because a lot of you put your finances first. If you let them do that to that, how much do you think that they're taking from your life? How you doing, Laura? Thanks for being on. Right? If they take 50% of your taxes, what do you think they're taxing you in your life? You think that it's a wonderful thing that you see your children way less than their teachers do? And if you think that's okay, why is it? Why are you fighting so that the government, who never liked you in the first place, is trying to teach you? Yeah, they rob your time. If they rob your money, and really they rob you blind. What do I mean? We're so blind to it, we don't even think about it. Somebody will say, yeah, man, I got a job. I'm making $25 an hour. And they don't even admit that probably means you're making like $13.50. Or sorry, $12.50. I made minimum wage. I was well aware that the minimum wage, if I made $7.25 an hour in the state of Virginia, that meant that I was making more like $3 and $3.62 to 63 cents an hour. Your child is supposed to, you say your child is a child of the king, but they're not allowed to pray in school. Right? See, we don't live as ambassadors, but that's what we're called to. So we're not registered to the embassy. Uh-oh, you catching it? You catching the terminology? You're not registered to the embassy. If you're not registered to the embassy, then we wouldn't treat you like an ambassador, or we wouldn't treat you like somebody from another country. You're not even registered to the embassy. The embassy of the kingdom of heaven is not even going to fight for you if you're not registered to it. What is a prayer? A prayer is a petition. A petition is what? A request or a demand made upon a government based off of your constitutional rights. But you're not even registered with the embassy. You came to somebody else's country and never told the embassy that you were going to show up. You said, well, that's just a piece of what you're actually bringing the corporation. Mm-hmm. Yeah, welfare, we can talk about Section 8, we can talk about all these things, right? If you're a homeowner and you make sure that people can have Section 8 to be able to live there, then you're saying that the government's going to subsidize and make sure. But guess what that means? The government gets to check and see, hey, do you run things the way we want you to run it? It's you have to figure every single, whether it's with great intention or not, you're signing up for the beast. And it's time to stop registering. That's what I'm trying to get people to see, right? I'm not just saying as simple as it's time to get your paperwork redone. I'm saying it's time to stop registering and in mindset first. To fact spoken, because going through the process of separation affects you mentally, physically, spiritually due to natural metamorphosis. It's going to be uncomfortable. Be happy you didn't serve. Yeah. You know, it's a lot of stuff that comes in that. When I was serving in the United States military, to go off your point, right? You register your body. You belong to Uncle Sam. It's not you serve. No. You serve because you belong. You're a slave. If he says go over there and get shot at, you get shot at. If he says you might need to shoot up those children, you got to figure out if you're willing to, basically be locked up or shoot up some children. It's this. I'm not saying I ever did, but I had to think about it, because if I got sent certain places, am I gonna have to do that? Because you registered. You said we didn't show up to tell that we are here because we're already here, but that's true. Sure. Right? Because we have a mindset that knows that we were already registered because we came from Yah, we came from the earth, we came from nature, right? But what I'm saying is now, right? That's great that we said that then, but guess what? A lot of us are, that's not the case. We have registered. Why do we even think about blood quantum stuff? Because we registered our DNA and tried to say whose DNA was more native than whose. And it wasn't even our people. Usually the only person who has this mindset is you, and it's so exhausting in your family. People talk down to you like you're crazy. But once again, because who are they registered to? But that's why we said earlier, right? My goal is not to get people to become sovereign, that they might be able to say that they just live by themselves. My goal is to help us have a sovereign mindset that leads to us becoming a nation. We must at some point start thinking about how do we support each other? How do we call each other? How do we talk to each other? And at some point, at least live near each other, if not with each other. How you doing, T-Roy? Right? At some point, you got to have people that are, this is when it comes to culture. That's why I said even earlier, right? I talked about hip hop culture, right? And I said that people try to say hip hop culture is black culture, but you're not in charge of it, right? The places that you were told are black or Negro or POC or whatever, it's not even yours. You are the face of it. But Lear Cohen is not you. And who did I say earlier? Jimmy Iovine, whatever his name is, he is not you. You are the original American, but everybody else gets called an American. And in their mind, they don't even think like that. We're not even separate enough, not even segregated. I said separate. Separation starts in the mind. How you doing, Amy? Right. People talk all this stuff about women and this and that or whatever and blah, blah, and this and that. I tell even women, no matter what color woman you are, I was like, why would you want to be part of a nation that started off and said that you're not even a human being either? You were made to be a trophy. No wonder they treat you like trophy wives. You were made to be a trophy put on a shelf. And then you were taught to separate yourself from your own women. Because as much as you want to talk about Susan B. Anthony was for everybody, she said that if I had my choice, I would rather give my right arm than to help a black beast be able to vote before I would. And so Journey Truth, when she had the speech, Ain't I a Woman, was that 1850? 1850, somewhere in there. When she gives that speech, Ain't I a Woman, it's really short. Why? Because they didn't even want her to show up. She said, I want to come and I want to support all women and their right for women's suffrage, for their right to choose to go through what everybody else goes through to help us to be able to come together. That's why voting is suffrage. To suffer means you choose to go through something. So she said, I think women should choose what we go through too. And they told her, no, don't come because we don't have the same fight. What were they saying? They were taught that even though we're all women, we're better women than you. But why would you have that mindset if the same woman, right? If you're supposed to be a woman, she's supposed to be a woman, and if y'all have been around the same time when they made the laws that said you couldn't vote, they also at the same time were having more sexual relations with her out in the field, whether she wanted it or not, than they would you, to the point to where y'all started getting so mad that some of you started offering some of her children that were your husband's children, and they had to make up a law to be able to protect you from doing so because you were offering so many children because you were so upset that you kept seeing your husband in the faces of all these slaves, and your husband wouldn't even come to you. He used you to have just enough people to leave something for his, to keep going and stay with his people, but he would keep messing with her more than he would mess with you. We're not even thinking about that's the person you should be fighting. But Susan B. Anthony was just like, I want to be like them. I was supposed to get everything they got. I waited and I waited. They didn't give me what they got. Bump the rest of y'all who are supposed to be women like us, right? And by the way, we talk about the 15th Amendment. We love to be able to tout black people could vote, but it wasn't black people. First of all, you got to be a nation to be considered people. So it was black persons could vote. But even when black persons could vote, right? These persons could not vote. These persons could not vote. It was black males who could vote, which meant that we didn't even fight for our own sisters and say, you know what, we'll sit this out. If all of us can't vote, then none of us can vote. This is how crazy the voting system is. We don't even think about how wild and unprotected. We didn't think about the fact that we didn't care about our own women. We just said, well, we can have something that makes us more like white men because that became your standard. And we should talk about that and how some of that stuff still permeates today, where you now want to be a high value man, but you act just like the oppressor and oppress women the same that now you want to oppress your women is the way that he oppresses theirs. And now you start leaving your women so that you can get his woman who's been oppressed. But at the same time, then you get mad when does the same thing to you, or does to you what she would want to do to him. But he's higher up in patriarchy, so she can't really do those things to him. So she waxing you. Not realizing they put us all against each other. See, you are registered to something that's wild, that's mentally off. You said if you're mentally separate from the system. Yeah. Heal cultures that were originally here, place to heal. Yeah. Like, and by the way, I'm not just talking about people of color, right? I've told you before, some of the greatest people to be around are Irish. I didn't even just say Irish Americans. Hear what I said? The Irish. Right? Go to the Isle of Montserrat and figure out how much the Irish and people of color love each other. You see what I'm saying? I'm talking about culture. That's why, right? Color is real. We should love people for their color. If you love a person, you should love what they come with, regardless of what color it is, right? This whole I don't see color thing is another excuse to not see certain things that we are so against, right? I've said this before. If you are Schwit and you have what they try to call coarse hair and big nose and all this stuff or whatever, hey, and for us, that's beautiful. If you come from Ireland, you're an Irish lass and you have red hair, that's beautiful, right? It might not be my cup of tea because of my culture, but it doesn't mean that you don't have to be recognized as beautiful as a human being. Especially, by the way, I have a wife. So when you have a wife, I have the greatest wife to ever be on the face of the planet. That's just how I feel about it, right? You ain't gonna change my mind on that. So as far as I'm concerned, she's the greatest wife to ever live. So I'm not looking for you like that anyways. If y'all notice, there was a sister, not even white. If we're using these colonial social constructs, not just a white woman. There was a black woman that ran by here and tried to get my attention and like literally like came through my shoulder. Y'all saw me kind of had to move over. And I guess she was waiting to see if I was gonna follow her around. To be honest with you, I wouldn't. You know what? I don't want to do that because I don't want to demean anybody. But long story short, right? I'm married. I'm cool. My wife on here is Bloom and Flourish. I say her stuff. She's a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. I talk about her all the time. Not Bloom and Flourish, but not A and D, the letter N. Bloom and Flourish. She's a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. Right, has her own business, makes tinctures, things like that, and looks out for the community as best she can to make sure that some of those things she'll look at charts for you, medical charts. She'll come up with an eating schedule, all types of stuff. She'll make stuff for you that if you want her to if certain things she has to make something from you from scratch, she'll make it from scratch. Actually, everything she makes from scratch. She goes to forages, all that stuff, whatever. Right, but you hear what I'm saying? Like, I'm not. There might have been a time in my life to where I was registered to that because I had lust issues, and it was interesting. I was double-minded. I would talk bad about the woman that would show all her stuff, but I also was dealing with lust issues, pornography, things like that, right? But I don't deal with those. I'm not. You know what I'm saying? I'm not registered to that anymore. I came out of that, and so when I came out of that, I don't have that mindset. So I'm not saying that there's nothing in me that I ever have to watch when I'm around somebody else. But also, I'm here to tell you plain as day, like I don't watch. I'm not like scared of falling for any of that or whatever because I'm not registered to it anymore. I don't look at commercials anymore and say I'm going to buy something because look at the way that the woman looked in the video. I'm not thinking to myself, I want to listen to this person because he's always wearing bling and he's always, he got the rings, he got the ring on, he got the watch on, he got the best shoes on. His shoes are worth 500, his outfit worth 3,000. Man, he must be the man. That doesn't mean that anything to me anymore. It just does not. At least not what it used to mean. I was trying in my head songs that I used to be able to sing all the time, right? And I can't remember the lyrics. I was trying to put lyrics together to show you guys like how, but I couldn't even put the lyrics together. I was trying to figure out Bone Thugs and Harmony stuff I used to sing all the time or recite all the time. Can't do it. But actually they sing. So I used to sing all the time. And it came from not being registered. See, some of you are registered to lust because you keep looking at it. And sometimes it gets as simple as that. It's like, what are we going to put in place for you to look at? And it's going to be tough. It might be boring. But what are you willing to look at that keeps you away from lust? How you doing, Rebels? You said you used to be scared of them, right? Like, See, like I was saying earlier, Eminem is not in my top 5 or whatever, not because he's a bad guy, but I don't care about him having to say that he's lyrically better than somebody else. And especially if he's not doing something to help my community. I'm not, it's nice that he came out and did a little freestyle to say why he didn't like Trump, but I need my people to eat. Thank you for saying that about my wife, Cat. I appreciate it, right? I need people that are trying to make sure my people eat. It's nice that you got a painting and you bought it for 1 million. 1 year later, that thing worth 2 million. Right? That's nice and everything, but 1 million could have made a lot of people eat. Could have got some land. Could have got some acreage. I'm out here struggling to finally have a meeting, at the beginning of this week coming up, to where we can finally start being like, can we finally have some land and start putting some food on it? You know what I'm saying? So it's nice. I'm not mad at you. Do your thing, Jay-Z, I guess. He into some devil worship and stuff, and so is Beyonce. That's why you have the Bay Hive, right? Because a witch coven is small, but a hive is a bigger witch, has more witches in it. There's a witch coven and a witch hive, and he's Jehovah and she's Bay over the hive. People don't even look at it, right? Because we don't care. That's why they call themselves that. But that being said, I'm not worried about that. You said you're Levi and Aaron under the line of Yeshua's brothers line. Family kept the lineal chart. Okay. That's great. So if you have that, because I'm Levi as well. So if we're going to do that, then what we have to do now is to ensure that now we're doing what Levi says and what we're called by the Most High to do. Like even in being Levi, right? Like what are we registered to? Right? What are we registered to? Right? What are we registered to? Right? Like as a Levite, I'm not supposed to be registered to a 9 to 5. So I'm not registered anymore. Well, even in tribes, right? Like that word tribe is not even necessarily what they call ourselves, right? Like you would call yourself a branch or a kingdom, right? Like, and I'm not coming against you. I'm just saying, like the words that we're using. How you doing, Brother Anthony? The words that we're using, we're not even using them correctly. We're not even thinking about them correctly, right? A tribe would have been a branch, so you got to figure out what family or what tree that branch goes to, right? Or a tribe would have been a family. So what family are you in? Or a tribe would have been a kingdom. How do you rule? Right? Right? So as a Levi, right? As a Levi, well, even when we talk to Yahweh, we have to talk to him through Lavak Hakodash, right? But even as a Levi, if you're talking to him, you're talking to Yahweh inside of you or whatever, okay, now once we're talking about that as a Levi or as anything that's supposed to be part of the kingdom, right? What are you registered to? And this is when people don't like to talk about law. People go straight into the grace or this is how I feel or this is blah, blah. But whatever you're registered to, it comes with rules, it comes with regulations. Where the Levites responsible for healing of the body, they could help people with healing of the body for sure, even with healing as far as spiritually or physically. But everybody in Israel would have had dietary laws, means that everybody would have ate correct. See, that's that communal part, community. Everybody in the community is supposed to eat the same way. If I go to, uh, I've said this before, if I go to a Jamaican house, it wouldn't surprise me if I saw rice and pea. It wouldn't be surprising to me if I saw oxtail. It wouldn't be surprising to me if there was sorrel or if there was ginger beer. It wouldn't be surprising to me, right? Okay, Carrie, amen. If that's your belief system, no problem. I'm not here to down your belief. I'm just talking about our culture, right? So if we share things in common, that's great. Um, you know, so you hear what I'm saying? Like, so if I'm in the Levitical priesthood, like there are certain things that I shouldn't be doing, but also, right, I shouldn't be registered to. If you're Judah, there are certain things you should be registered to. Right, Yehovah, if you're Judah, you should be registered to some things as far as praise and worship. But a community eats the same. So that's why you have dietary laws. Dietary laws are not just for the Levites. The dietary laws are for everybody. So there's a lot of stuff. And once I've said this before, you know how people live like paycheck to paycheck? A lot of people live miracle to miracle. I want to eat whatever I want to eat, and then I'm going to pray over whatever I eat that I know is going to hurt me. Right? I know it's going to hurt me, but I want to live however I want to live. right? So I'm going to eat a bowl of sugar. I'm going to eat, oh no, it's not a bowl of sugar. You don't want to call it that? Okay. I'm going to eat six. I'm gonna go to the gas station. I'm gonna get this six thing of Reese's Pieces. I'm gonna get 8 Kit Kats. I'm gonna have some some vanilla, or I'm gonna have a Metropolitan thing of ice cream, 5 scoops. I'm gonna drink. I'm gonna wash it all down with a Coke. Matter of fact, forget a Coke. I'm gonna get some root beer and I'm gonna put some ice cream with that too. I'm gonna get a root beer float, but I'm gonna pray over it before I eat it. No management in between. Like people who live paycheck to paycheck are usually people, not always, right? But usually are going to be people who are basically not making sure that they're looking at what's happening, what's going on. So they live paycheck to paycheck, not because they're poor necessarily, but because we have a poor mind, we have a poor psyche, we have a poor soul. People don't like to use these words correctly, but nachevash, or even in the Greek psyche, psyche, it literally is talking about what? It's talking about the soul. Psychology is the study of the soul. And they know that many of you, they have studied your soul, they have studied your psyche, they have studied what you do every day, they've studied your habits, they've studied your mindset, and they know that many of you are not going to make sure that you um, are are not even saving, but investing correctly or saving up stuff for your own community, right? That's what the tithe is giving to your own community, that there might be meat in mine house, a certain family. You're not looking for like-minded family, like-minded people to make sure you sow into. You'll sow into everybody else. You'll sow into Budweiser. You'll sow into Miller Lite. You'll sow into McDonald's. You'll sow into Chick-fil-A. And look, I'm not saying I don't go to any of these places. I mean, I don't go to McDonald's, but I mean, every once in a while, you know, especially when my son's hungry or something like that, if we need something, I might go to Chick-fil-A. He might get this. I might get fruit and maybe get some of their chicken, probably grilled. But, you know, maybe I get some of it, sure. But I'm just saying, like, I don't sow into it like a lot of y'all do. You said no gods exist. That's great, Timothy. Once again, we're talking about culture. So I don't believe in God, right? God is a Germanic thing. Elohim is something else. Elohim is something else. Yi and Yame could be something else. On Yom Kippur could be something else. Anansi could be something else. Anetra could be something else. All of these spirits that you talk about, all these things that you say you don't believe in, they all are in different places. So sure, we're actually on the same page. But had you listened long enough, instead of just coming with that, had you say hello, had you even said, why do you believe in God? We probably could have had better conversation. Instead, the moderators who I bow down to, they got to do what they do. The moderators already took care of it. Thank you. How you doing, Sister Kimberly? How you doing, Nick? Thanks for being part of the community. I'm sorry, I missed y'all. How you doing, Sister Juanetta? And you said we're the standards, yet we don't comprehend. Yeah. You know, so I'm not registered to that. See, somebody comes on, and this is what happens, right? You guys see this happen quite a bit. Somebody comes on the live session. Oh, I don't believe in God. I'm not registered to that belief. You're going to argue something with me that I'm not registered to. See, this is when it becomes easier to have these conversations. Your family is trying to get you to do all this stuff. Well, you know, Jesus, blah, blah. No offense, auntie. No offense, mama. No offense, daddy. But I'm not registered to Jesus. I'm registered to Yehoshua. There's a difference between half man, half Zeus, and the Son of the Most High. How dare you? I didn't teach you like that. I know you didn't. And it's because you, from birth, were registered to something else. See, this is why we talked about that birth certificate. Yeah, they see pastor in your name and they automatically assume certain things. And by the way, I'm not mad at it. I get it. I just wish people would actually listen long enough or even ask questions, not just come on for the sake of trying to say, I'm going to show everybody why you're wrong. That's why most people, when they hear me, they come on with the mindset of, I'm going to tell them why it's wrong. And that's, if we be honest, that's a lot of us. I'm going to tell them why they're wrong. Even within these communities that are supposed to believe in the same thing, we're so quick to come on and say, I'm going to tell y'all why you're wrong. I'm going to tell you why this is it. I'm going to tell you why he doesn't know the scripture as much as I do. I'm going to show you this. How you doing, babe? My wife is on, the Honorable Maya. You can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Not A&D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She's a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. The person who was asking about my wife earlier, she just came on, Bloom and Flourish, right? So you can check her out, talk to her about some things. She has her own business in which she makes sure that the health of diaspora is our number one concern. Yep, those that have ears to hear. Everybody got ears, but not everybody has ears to hear. That's a bar right there. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Also, thank you, Hanan, for being obedient to the angel that was giving you what the voice of Yehoshua was talking about. Excuse me. How you doing, Overcomer? See, so I'm not registered is what we're talking about today. It's hard for me to have a conversation with me And it's hard for you to hear me. I get it sometimes. Why? Because I'm not registered. So I'm not registered for the foolishness. There used to be a long time ago that I was going to have an argument and not talk to people and not talk to people for a week because they said this or they said that and they gave this and they gave that. There used to be a time in my life to where that was going to be, I was going to allow that to happen. Now I'm not registered to that. I love my wife too much to have to be right. I want to be righteous. So if my wife says that I need to change in something, I need to change in something. Well, we've been talking about it the whole time. Registered, basically, like, when somebody's born, you're registered to a state, you're registered to a government. A lot of people are registered to certain ideologies. So you start dealing with your ideologies. What is an ideal? Not an idea, but an ideal. An ideal, IDEAL, is something that is created to support your narrative. So when I say I'm not registered to the whole thing of I got to argue just to be right. If I make an argument, it's because I'm trying to be righteous. And at the end of the day, if my being righteous, means that somebody, like, there's certain things I do have to stand on, no matter what, I'm going to stand on them. Right. But if it means that I'm going to stop talking to people that I love because I've got to win an argument, it's not worth it. If it means that we can't help people to eat because now somebody who has this part of what we need now won't talk to us because they won't bow down to everything we say, it's not worth it. But I'm trying to be righteous. I'm not trying to be right. I'm not registered to that in this sense. Right. And we've been talking for hours, a couple hours now. We're coming up on a couple hours. I actually started late. And we won't be on that much longer. Usually Sundays is when we're on longer. Today I won't be on as long. Got to make sure that everybody's still, make sure that we're doing what we need to do as a family today. But yeah, you said, can you remove yourself from birth certificate? You shouldn't even want to. Just make sure that you learn how to properly fill out a DS-11 form for your passport. And then you don't have to worry about it. Yeah, Jenny, they always go pretty fast. How you doing, Jen? Thanks for being part of the community. Yeah. So you shouldn't even worry about, like, people do stuff where I want to authenticate my birth certificate. Why would you want it to be authentic? You're not authentic. What's on the birth certificate was never authentic in the first place. Right? Just change your status. Just become non-citizen national. Then your birth certificate, whenever you use it, you're only using it as proof and evidence that you were born in the state. If you were born in the state, then you're considered to be a real person, whether you're talking about private citizen or public anyways. Now, you could do that even without doing the DS-11 if you know what you're doing, but DS-11 is just easy. It also puts you on, like, a do not detain list, stuff like that. But that's a whole different, I'm not focusing on that part of it as much, although I'm using it as a parable, if you will. Jan, you can ask whatever questions, hopefully, we just, you can feel free to ask whatever questions. We just ask that everybody be respectful. Everybody can ask questions. DS-11 to change status, sure, but you got to know how to do it. And that's why we give classes. But even if you want one-on-one help with it or whatever, that's fine. We have our information where if you're on YouTube, if you can look at the description, if you're on TikTok. Matter of fact, we're getting close to taking our leave. So once we do that, you should be able to go ahead and look on, when we get ready to do something called our shout out on TikTok, we'll have that information in the background. So on the screen, we'll pop up places and some music plays if you want to get in touch with us or see stuff or see classes that we have or whatever the case, right? But DS-11 is, but you have to know how to do it. A lot of people are going to go fill out the DS-11 form and you're going to be like, it doesn't say anything special. It doesn't say this. Well, I just filled one out and I got the same type of birth certificate. Yeah, you have to fill it out specifically. It used to be on there that you could easily check off what you wanted. Now you have to make sure. And by the way, if somebody says they don't believe what I'm saying or agree with it, because somebody will tell you that I'll probably be wrong on this, no problem. What I would tell you to do is either on the 5th page out of 6 pages, or if you want to look at it as the first page out of the 2 pages you fill out, on that page that you fill out, there's a place, the first page that you fill out of the 2 pages, there's a little place that they're going to put your picture in, and they're also going to tell you not to touch it or not fill it out at all until the person tells you it's all right to sign it, right? If you look in there in the first sentence of the fine print, it tells you straight up that you can, by signing this, you can say that you are either a U.S. citizen, that means you're public, or a non-citizen national, that means you're private. It's right there on there. So, but they don't tell you how to fill it out so you can do it. So many people will fill out their stuff and you don't know how to do it, right? Learn how to do it, right? There's rules to this sovereignty thing. There's rules. If you become sovereign, somebody who's sovereign has to give you the right to be sovereign. We like to just say, I'm sovereign. I was born sovereign. Yeah, you were born up until, right? See, the hospital be asking your parents sometimes in advance, what's their name? And if they know their name in advance, they already got the birth certificate and the social security card ready. Even if you don't ask for it, they'll have the social security card ready. You know what I'm saying? You don't even want one. They got it ready. Right? But you were born natural. Yeah, you get registered to be modified. They're trying to get you to sign to modify who you are. Yeah, they push you. Right? You don't have to have your baby in a hospital. There's nothing that says that you're breaking the law by having. Matter of fact, it's always interesting to me. People talk about a woman's rights. A woman's rights, a woman's rights, a woman's right to do, a woman's rights to do. Thank you, Sister Shima, for putting that up here. You can click on the link tree in the bio. Thank you. Right, a woman's right to do this, a woman's rights to do this, a woman's rights, and nobody ever talks about a woman's rights to have a baby without having it registered, because we don't even think about that. You said, how do you set up a notification? If you're on YouTube, I think you just click on the bell. That's the notification bell. If you're on TikTok, I think if you just are part of the community, or if you follow or whatever they call it, follow part of the community. We call it being part of the community. If you click on it, then it should notify. It doesn't always, right? So you have to check. But we're on every rising at 8 a.m. We try our best to be on every rising 8 a.m. Eastern New York time, every weeknight at 8 p.m. Eastern New York time, except for Wednesdays. That's my day off. But even still, we have other people who teach and preach and are part of what we do and are part of the culture. Praise God. Yeah, and even if you click on even if you don't get a notification, so let's say it's 8 and I'm on, and you don't get a notification, it's like 8:15, I'm on, you still haven't got a notification, you can always literally just go to the page, and when I'm on live, it'll pulse. It'll look like it's pulsing. When it's pulsing, that's saying, and it'll usually even give an indication once you see it, it'll pulse, because it'll say Kofi 40 or Kofi_43 is live. You said, when you fast, is it okay to visit your girlfriend for something? I missed the question. When you fast, is it okay to visit your girlfriend? First of all, in our culture, I don't know if I can really even give you anything for that, because we don't do girlfriends, we don't do dating, we do marriage, and you have to be pre-qualified for marriage. And sex is marriage, marriage is sex. So you have to go the way that we look at courting, if you will. When you fast, is it okay to visit your girlfriend or friends? There's no, you can't visit somebody while you're fasting. I'd have to see where that comes from, but you can fast and go anywhere. You can fast and go to the gym. You can fast and go for a walk. You can fast, I would say be careful who you're going around when you're fasting, if it's going to be difficult for you to keep your fast. But, well, no such thing as a crazy question. Questions are questions. Thank you for the question. I wouldn't call it, If you say worldly fast, if you're fasting from the world, I mean, even that depends. Once again, you have to learn how to be in the world, but not of it. I'm not registered to the world, but I'm not afraid of the world. You said, do you believe kinetic abilities are possible? Sure. I was talking about that the other day, but I also believe in gifts and stuff like that too. I believe that everybody has different abilities and everybody has different things. Everybody can learn a little bit about something. Like unfortunately, I've learned how to be a master of one. Like the saying used to say that I'm a jack of all trades, master of one. And then somehow that changed into a joke. I'm a jack of all trades, a master of none. So I've learned how to master teaching, speaking. And when we say master, it has to get to a place to where you yourself can teach. You know what I'm saying? So every master or teacher, rabbi, teacher, master, it just means disciple. You are very disciplined in something to the point. So slave masters were very disciplined in how to make sure that they were, had people bowing down to them. Therefore, they became slave masters. They were able to teach the slaves how to bow down to them, right? They also themselves had to bow down to the principles of being a slave master, right? But that's just one of many masters, right? It's a negative master, but it's one of many, right? However, were they actual slave masters? You could even argue that, because they didn't teach you anything. You said you don't like the word slave master. I don't like the word slave master, sure. It doesn't mean that they don't exist, though. And I can't run away from the fact that there were some of those, because there still are some of those. Right? How you doing, Lady Drama? Right. So there's a lot of stuff that we don't like. And if we're not careful, that's kind of coming even out of, and I'm not saying you're part of this, by the way, but even some of that comes, that's why we have a lot of stuff like with cancel culture. I don't like this word. I don't like, but I mean, it's real. You know, I don't like the fact that you say, I mean, I get it, but it's real. I don't like talking about it. It doesn't mean, I've told people this before multiple times, whether people believe me when I say it. I don't necessarily like everything that the Bible says. Like doesn't mean I don't love it, because like it means that I have this certain type of emotional pull towards it. Love means it's an action. So there's times I wake up, I don't like me, but I still have to love my wife. That's an action. There's times I wake up, I don't like myself, but I still have to love myself. I still have to forgive myself. I'm sorry, DeMarcus, you said, excuse me, in my opinion, how do we think the government will react if people stop giving them funds and support and start separating from them to become as one? I won't give you my opinion per se, even though some of it does have to be opinion. I try to stay away from it. I would say, look at what the government's already done. At first, they're going to trip. At first, they're going to send people out to try and get you. At first, they're going to try to make examples out of people. What we would have to do from there, that would be more my focus, is still stay the course and stay separated. And after a while, but see, here's the deal. If we be honest about it, we say this all the time, right? This walk is not for everybody. So since this walk is not for everybody, right? I'm sorry to send it. I'm gonna have to come back to that in a second. Hold on one second. I didn't even read the question. I apologize, but I just want to make sure I finish answering this, or else I'll get to a place where I'm not answering questions at all. But I promise I'll come back to it. Just give me a sec. The government, how would they react if the people stop giving them funds and support? At first, they do what they did. They do what they did to Wilmington in 1898. They do what they did to Tulsa in 1921. They do what they did to the group of people that were in Philadelphia in the 1980s. They do what they did to Rosewood. I forget when that was, 1900 somewhere, 1910s, 1910, somewhere in there. All right. But at the same time, there are people who actually are separate. But here's the deal. Not everybody's going to be separate. So once again, I'm not saying these things comprehending or having any kind of understanding or thought process that everybody will come under one umbrella, whether we should or not. I'm somebody that knows that for those who want to separate, we should. And we should start working on those things. What'd you say? Authenticate to become foreign and access your private trust, which they do for you anyways. Just my thoughts. Sequester trust is your birth certificate. Become the beneficiary. Okay. You said you have to join the kingdom is the only way to be a non-citizen national. No, I said this earlier. You can be a private citizen and just be by yourself. I'm saying the reason why I'm teaching people to become a non-citizen national is because I'm trying to build a nation together to where people who are like-minded can come together, because the person who's out there on an island by themselves, they might do very well, and they might do well for themselves, but it's only a matter of time to where if you just by yourself, somebody can get to you pretty easy. I'm sorry, you said, can you tell us where I was going when I said I was speaking towards marriage, if applicable? Yeah, I was talking about marriage, and I forget what I think I was trying to, marriage. So marriage is a political statement. I think that's what I was saying earlier. And then we kind of kept coming in and out of marriage. But marriage is a political statement. And what happens is many of your marriages have been registered with the state. Right? So many marriages are with the state. You're not even registered. Like, so your idea of marriage comes from what the government tells you marriage is. And by the way, how much training? Let's do it like this once again. That's why I say I'm not registered. I'm not registered. I'm not going to have my marriage registered to what the state says it's supposed to be at all, right? Because I just want let's keep it a buck. How much? Think about this now. Think about this question. How much has the state, the government, the word state means nation. The United States is a corporation, 28 USC 300215A. That's United States code. It tells you that the United States is not a country, it's a corporation, right? But every state is a nation, it's a country, right? Given sovereignty by other states that are part of the same United States, right? They're all countries that have united together. There's 50 of them. right? They have territories too, right? Puerto Rico is not a state. It's not considered to be a nation. It obviously at one point was, even before it was called Puerto Rico, but it is not considered to be a state, a nation. It is considered to be what? A territory, right? But what I'm trying to say is that in these states, you have registered yourself with one of these nations and have never once thought to yourself, well, if I was private and part of a private people, if I get married with these private people and I decide privately to be part of a nation, we could register our marriages with each other based on our own laws, and it would be totally legal. You see? You said, what do you recommend when having a baby so they can be a non-citizen national? Making sure that you don't register the baby. And if you're talking about, I need evidence of the baby's existence, you got a camera, take pictures, have people sign affidavits, take a video. This is all evidence, right? And then keep those things just like the government keeps those things, and have other people who are in there, make sure they have copies of affidavits and stuff as well. And that's why I said, but it comes to the nation building, right? But anyways, when you talk about marriage is something that's, marriage, first of all, is the basis of marriage is the basis of pretty much every single society that's ever existed. It starts off with what starts off in your house. You said, so no Social Security? Yeah, by law, you don't have to have one. There's a lot of people that don't have one until people start saying, well, if you want college assistance, or if you want this, or if you want that, then we'll give you a birth. Then we got to have a Social Security number. And technically, you still don't, because by law, it's illegal to force somebody to use their Social Security number as a form of identification. That's why even when you go get your jobs, right? Your jobs have that A section, B section, and C section when it comes to identification. They say birth certificate is in the A section. Why? Or your passport. Why? Because if you have a passport or birth certificate, that means that we recognize that you're a real human being. Or I'm sorry, if you have your passport, right? You just show your passport, you're a real human being. Right? If you do your birth certificate, a lot of times it's in the A section as well. But if you do B and C, they're like, okay, well, give us, a lot of times they might say, give you the social and give me your driver's license, something like that. But your driver's license is something that is registered with the state too. Said, can a pastor be the record keeper if you want to? If you're coming, so we're doing, and it doesn't have to be the only one. You should have your own records. Matter of fact, you should have the original at all times, right? I should have the copy of the original if I'm the one if I did that. So when I do the wedding, when I do the marriages, I'm going to be the one that had that. But also too, what we try to do with people is try to make sure we have talks up to it, because we also want to make sure we're going to do a contract. We want to have a marriage constitution. And you should have your own marriage constitution. You should have some stuff that's there that you both have signed, that I can be a third party witness or serves as an affidavit, so that if what y'all are acting up, we already have an agreement that if we need to take it to a judge, we don't go by what they say, but we go by what we say. Right? So we say the Bible says this, we say this, boom, boom, boom. Also, too, we've seen, well, when you guys talk, this person doesn't like it when you use this type of words, or this person might need this type of notification if something might cause an argument. So you ask the person before, we can put everything in documented form, so that if we end up and if we do this right, it won't even matter. But if it ends up where we do need to start talking about the dreaded word divorce, then at least we're going from a place to where it's agreed upon. And that way, whatever the baby's going to get, whatever the person's going to do, it's something that we've already come into agreement. So even if you try to break now, see what happens is you guys get mad because the state gets involved, but the state gets involved because your people are registered to the state. Matter of fact, not even your people, your persons, and these are artificial persons, are registered to the state. If you're a people in the nation and you write your own stuff for your nation, then you bring that before the judge. The judge is just a trustee. Right, the trustor, right? So the person who writes it is the trustor. So y'all write it together and sign it, right? Hopefully you write it so that you both will be the beneficiary of it. You can be multiple beneficiaries of it, including your children. And then out of that, if something should happen to where there's an argument or something, right? Even if you come back to me, this is why we like to write this stuff out. If you come back to me and you say, well, Pastor Kofi, this, that, or whatever, and we've written out a marriage constitution already, first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say, did y'all read the Constitution? First thing, I'm gonna say, did you read the Constitution? Did you look at even the bullet points of what we did, the notes that we got? I'm just gonna ask, Are y'all willing to follow what you guys said you would follow? You're coming to the wrong person. It's not my constitution, it's yours. Right? I'm not registered to it. I just signed off on what y'all registered to. Right? Like that's more so what the mindset should be. Now, whether you agree that it should be written or not, I think you should, because then if it gets to a place where it's legal, you don't have to go in there and talk about, well, he said, she said. You go in there, this is written. Your Honor, we're not asking for you to do, just we want you to make sure, like he said he was going to take care of the babies to this certain money amount or this percentage of what he made or whatever. I'm not asking you for what the state's going to do, because I know that's going to go in your pockets, Your Honor. I'm not trying to do this so that you can have a better pension. I'm not trying to take him to rake him through the coals. I just want him to agree that he said he would pay 20% of what he made. And if he could do 20%, it's better than 0%. And if it's written down and he signed off on it, right? And then if they need as an affidavit, they might call me or they might contact me. Hey, Pastor Kofi, is this your signature? Is this what they said? Yeah, that is what they said. Okay, thank you, Pastor Kofi. Right? But it's that simple. Right? But it gets difficult. I tell people this all the time. You can see you're not registered correctly even to how your nation works. So because you're not registered, y'all get in the argument. And what happens is I get these two people that start arguing. And I'm just listening. Sometimes I can't even stop the argument. I'm like, whoa, right? And it gets difficult because who's right? Who's righteous? Forget who's right. Who's righteous in that? I'm trying to figure out righteousness in you cussing him out. You cussing her out. And I'm just like, I don't know what to do with this. Nobody even cares. We're not registered to the right thought process. See, that's why I'm not registered to some of the stuff that people have said we got to be registered to. I don't care who wins an argument anymore. Babies cried because mom and daddy are fussing at each other. Right? That baby more important right now than y'all fussing. You know what I'm saying? Come over your house and y'all arguing. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick up the baby and take him somewhere. Let's go outside until they get this together. And you'll get the point. Even if you didn't give me permission. Why are you picking up my baby? Why are you picking up my baby? Because your baby is crying. You see him? I'm gonna take him outside and explain to him that they're not the problem, that you are. So that when they grow older, they'll realize that it's not their fault that their parents can't talk. I can't have that baby registered to what you registered to. So busy fussing, trying to be right. You need to be caring for the child first. That's righteous. You see what I'm saying? And that's not the only thing. By the way, your marriage, if you're married and you do it correctly, the husband and wife come first. But if you're not coming first, everything else is attached to what should come first. It's falling apart. If the foundation is jacked up, right? Everything else above me, no matter how nice it looks, it will fall. That's why I say when I'm saying today, I'm not registered. That's the mindset. You said it's difficult to go to work. I can't unsee what has been revealed today. Hey, that's why we want to get you into your work, right? You might have to have a job now, but we want to get you to a place where you're in your work. Sometimes they might intertwine, right? But we want to get you into your work. See, I want you to start becoming so unregistered, so unaffiliated with some of this nonsense. I've said this before. Let me say it again. I want you to get to a place to where you are unemployable. Right? And people are unemployable. You mean I can't have any money? I'm unemployable. But I'm obviously doing all right as far as I can take care of bills. I want you to get to a place where you are unemployable. Like I said before, what if we could cut down your living expenses by saying we want to forage for food? Somebody said that takes a lot of time. If you know what you're doing, an hour foraging is the same as an hour shopping, and it costs less money. And you could probably just do it outside. You could probably go to parks, even parks that they say, and look, okay, this for education purposes only. This is illegal. So you don't have to listen to what I'm saying. Matter of fact, maybe you shouldn't listen to what I'm saying. All right. But you can go, there's places where people are not taking care of stuff anyways, and stuff is growing naturally. You might as well go out and get some fruit, get some vegetables. Roots. You paying all this money, you paying $6 for a box of tea. You can go ahead and just pick something out and take the roots and make tea. There's apple trees that grow all around you. You don't even look for them because in your mind, why would you think about looking for them? So you don't even look to see. There's apples that grow there. There's you got wild lettuce. A lot of you walk down your streets and there's all this vegetation that grows up in between the cracks. A lot of times that's wild lettuce. You could literally take that, obviously wash it if people been walking all over, but you could take it home. You got wild lettuce. If you go to the store, start thinking about sowing it back into the ground, tithing it back into what God has for you. Get some garlic and let it sprout. Get some potatoes and let it sprout. Get some ginseng and let it sprout. Get some ginger, let it sprout. Get some carrots, let them sprout, and then put them on the ground. Or put them in a pot in your house and put it in a big pot because you want a big reward. Don't just sow in a little thing and then be like, all I'm getting is this. No, put it in a big pot and expect a great reward. Right? Get to a place to where you eating greens from your turnips and you're not paying a whole bunch of money for what they call greens. Or power greens, excuse me, right? Eat the greens that are growing off your onions or your turnips. Right? One garlic is going to feed you for a long time. Imagine if you had 5 of them up on the windowsill. You don't even have to have it in you once it sprouts, you don't even have to put it in the dirt initially. You can just put it in a mason jar, and you just have it on the top and let it sprout into the water or the root into the water and watch it start sprouting and start eating the sprouts for a while. You just giving yourself unlimited food supply. Give yourself 5 or 6 of them on the window and eventually put some of them in the dirt. You can keep them in the water if you want, but put some of them in some dirt as well. And if you're saying, oh, I don't want bugs and stuff in my house, fine. Get some soap. Right? Get sapogens, if you know what those are. Turn it into soap. Spray it on your stuff. Or if you want to go ahead and use dishwashing detergent or something like that, fine, spray that too. So you don't have to worry about mites and all that stuff. You already have all the food you need. You already have everything that you need. So I'm just trying to show you, like, but see, we're so registered, right? We're so registered to the state that we don't even think about I could just go out and what Yah has created. Yeah, they can grow up to 10 inches for sure. Like they grow. I've shown y'all some of the places we've been at in different spots that we go and reside in from time to time. I've shown you what this stuff looks like, how easy it is. It really doesn't take much. It was so surprising to me. Like we had we were using it for a forgive me. What do you call it when you put the dirt together so that everything can eat off of it? You know, it's basically all of your banana peels and all your trash and everything. Compost heap, right? But before it went into the compost heap, or maybe I grabbed it out of it. I took, and I'm talking about when I say a piece of carrot, I'm talking about almost a slim, thin slice. Like it couldn't have been no thicker than that, right? And I decided, you know what? I'm growing some other stuff out here this year. Let me go ahead and just put this in there real quick. I put the carrot in there, right? And I put just enough of it. It was thin. So usually you should let it sprout first, and then you can go ahead and put it down in the ground and let some of what's sprouting up be at the top, right? And put some dirt over it. But I just went ahead and put that little thin thing in. I was like, let me see. And before I knew it, sprouting. Now, it didn't sprout that much that fast because obviously a carrot is a root. So therefore, since there wasn't that much root, it couldn't be that much sprout, right? But I basically had stuff. And by the way, you know, that's where the seed is going to come out of, is what's sprouting. So if I just, I ended up not letting it grow, or somebody came by and mistakenly messed it up. So I had to, it didn't get to go. So I don't know how much it would have grown into, but I'm just trying to say, like, these things are things that we could do, right? But we're so registered to the unnatural that we don't even think about the natural law. We only think about natural law. We don't think about that potatoes are roots. Why not buy a bunch of potatoes, eat some of them, but let some of them stay in the bag and sprout, or take them out the bag and let them sprout, whatever. And then once they start to sprout, you can even cut off the pieces that are sprouting, or you can just put the whole potato underground, because that's what it is. You get potatoes from underground. Why? Because they are roots. There are so many things that we eat that are roots that we don't even think about that we could just easily make. pineapple skin, things like that. Yeah, right. So you could take the top of the pineapple, right, and you could right when you buy your pineapple from the store, you could just chop off the top of the pineapple like you normally do, eat what you eat, right, and then if you want it, just go ahead and take the top of it and put it in some water, like we were talking about, like in a mason jar. You might need something for the bigger for a pineapple, but put it in some water, let the roots start sprouting down. You'll see that it'll start shooting up, and then plant that after a little while. And what you'll find is that then a pineapple will grow out of that again. You know what I'm saying? You've just grown another pineapple. Right? If you're somebody that really likes pineapples, fine. Every time you buy a pineapple every week, I don't know if y'all eat them every day or something, but let's say you eat it every week or once a month or whatever. But let's say you eat them once a week, once every 2 weeks, repeat the process, and then get to a place to where you don't even buy pineapples anymore. Yeah, eventually you put it in the dirt. Yeah, so you would let it root into the water, but then eventually you put that, once it's rooting, you take those and you put it in soil, you put it in the dirt. And so now if you've got that, well, depending on your weather too, but in a lot of places, even in the United States of America, you're not going to necessarily pay for pineapples again. Right? Like these are things that I'm saying I'm not registered to that mindset that says that I have to go and if somebody provides me with something, then I'll be able to eat. Yah has provided me, right? Like I could eat off of this bark if I had to. I could eat off this bark. It's not my preference, right? There's pine, by the way. Pines you see on the ground. Now, if they're usually on the ground, they're open up. They don't have seed in them anymore, right? But if you see them in the trees and you see them closed up, a lot of times we don't think of those as anything special or something. But if they're closed up, they got seed. You could take that and start your pine, or you could do right. But I could take this pine still, and I could. I mean, if I wanted to, I could chew it. But I could. I mean, you could take it, scrape your teeth with it, as you're getting pine on the inside of certain things. By the way, make pine tea out of it. Pineal gland. Right, your pineal gland is stimulated now. Your pituitary gland will therefore be better for stimulating your pineal gland. Your hypothalamus, so you're focusing and your emotional status on things, whether you're happy or sad or things like that. Like there's a lot of stuff you could easily do. You could just chew. You could take pieces of the pine, right? And people think that I'm making stuff up. So, or people sometimes think you're not going to eat it. Now this right here is called sweet gum. I don't know why, because bitter, but this is something else that grows pretty much everywhere, sweet gum, right? So you could take this and do a lot of stuff with it, right? But you got pine well, actually this one it's really dirty, and I'm not gonna put this in my mouth. I'm trying to see. Yeah, this one's actually been smushed down, but anyways, you could. Yeah, this whole thing is. Yeah, I'm not gonna get myself sicker, right? But you could take pieces of this, and you could, if nothing else, chew on it, or use it to scrape or do certain things or whatever, and this would come in, right? Sorry, this is a bad example of one to find. Y'all can see how dirty this is, so I'm not going to do this in my mouth. But you something like this, right? But on the inside, when you spread out, there's a bunch of seed. But you could take something like that. You can still make tea out of it. You can still boil it. You can still take it, boil it, or do certain things, and now you have something that's helping you. And by the way, if it's helping with the pineal gland, then it's going to help you with your thought process. It's going to help you. This is now me guessing, so take this with a grain of salt. Study this next part that I'm saying. Right, this is me correlating things that might not need to be correlated. However, I would assume that if it's helping with your pineal gland, it's going to help you if you're dealing with foggy memory issues and things like that. It's definitely going to help you with cell digestion in those areas as well. So that probably means your synapses are going to fire better. And if I'm dealing with stuff like that, as far as the pineal gland being better, that means that I'm not going to deal with certain things that a lot of people deal with later on in life, like I'm trying to say arthritis. That's not correct. Even though it maybe helps with arthritis too, but that's not what I'm trying to say. What is that? Memory issues. Somebody help me. What is it? Memory issues. Alzheimer's, right? Stimulation of the pineal gland. A lot of people's pineal gland becomes calcified. If it becomes calcified, you're going to have problems with memory and dementia. Yeah. Right. So something like that, something as simple as that. And this is stuff that grows a lot. There's a lot of places all over the United States, all over the world, where you can find pine or pine cone or something very similar to it, or sweet gum, right? Or something similar to it. Y'all have all seen something like this somewhere where you are, right? These are things that you can find all over the place. Cognitive function, yeah, right? So I'm just saying, there's a lot of stuff that's why I say I am not subscribed. or all right, or I'm not. I keep saying subscribe. Uh, I am not registered. I'm just not registered to this belief system anymore. Right? I'm just not registered to this belief system anymore that says that I have to be part of stuff that's not real. It doesn't make sense. It's not giving us anything that we need as a people. That being said, if I'm not careful, we will get close to what not just our normal time is, but also what our normal Sunday time is, where we can go instead of 3 hours, we sometimes go 4 or 5 hours on a Sunday. But today I need to deal with or I need to enjoy my family and have a great time on this day, which is also a day of importance for my family as well, besides just us family day and the day of rest for us that we most certainly need. So I'm going to go ahead and take my leave now. If you're with us and you were asking information, I can get in contact with you, stuff like that. If you're on YouTube, all the stuff is in the description with this video. If you are on TikTok, you can always click on our link tree, but we're going to get ready to do our shout out. If you've never done a shout out with us, if you just participate in it, or even if you want to look at how it works, it will actually show you how you can find a bunch of stuff to be able to get in contact with us. Right. So we're going to have a bunch of information that's going to pop up to where you can comprehend how to get in contact with us. And if you want to be able to text or email us or find out more information about what we do, we'll have that information for you very soon. All right. But we're going to go ahead and get ready to take our leave. Thank you for being on with us. I'm trying to now, of course, that it's time for us to take our leave. There we go. So to say I can't find what we use. And of course, everybody and their mom is coming over here talking now that it's time for us to do our shout out, but we'll still do it. I might have to move for us to do it correctly, but we'll still do it. I think we'll be all right though. It looks like we'll be able to. So thank you for being on. We give all honor and praise once again to the most. We give all praise and honor to him for my wife, the Honorable Maya, who lives a life that's able to be honored. You can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A and D, the letter N. Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. We thank you guys for joining us today. We appreciate your presence. And hopefully we'll see you tomorrow, early in the rising, for early rising Bible study session. If not, we'll see you at 8 a.m. Eastern New York time. For our regular live session, and hopefully we'll see you in the evening tomorrow as well. You guys enjoy yourselves. It's not our holy day, but for those of you who are going to be doing something for July 4th, just make sure that you're safe. We'd love to make sure that we see you guys again, and healthy and competent. So we appreciate you. We honor you. We thank you so much. And we look forward to talking to you guys again soon. So thank you so much. We appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon. As always, it's been Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time, but being a voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. And until I have the great privilege, opportunity, and responsibility of being in front of you all again, please remember as always, Yashta, that you are loved, you are necessary, you're majestic, you're fearfully and wonderfully made in you, which is all of us working together. Will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Shalom, family. Shalom, if you're going off this Gregorian calendar. The reason why I say that is because technically for us, we might even call it Shai Shalom, because for us, Tuesday evening is actually when Shabbat starts for us. If you're going by the Israelite calendar right now, that's where we are. But Shalom, if you're going by today being the first day of the week, we appreciate you. We'll talk to you guys soon. And you guys take care. To everybody who's still with us on TikTok, I promise you, we do our shout out at the